What's going on, Bulls Nation? Oh, it's trade deadline day. You found yourselves hanging out with us, CHGO Bulls. I am Matt Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. My guys, Big Dave, Bow, BAWL Sports, Will the Goat Gottlieb, Will_Gottlieb, our pal and producer, Joey Spathis, hanging out with us, rocking the controls on deadline day. Follow Joey at Joey Spathis. We are CHGO_Bulls. Trade deadline special. Presented to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download their app. Be sure to use promo code CHGO when you sign up. How are we feeling, everyone?
I feel amazing.
Just under an hour to go until the NBA's mid-season trade deadline.
Yes.
No action for the Bulls so far. There are some new reports and rumors swirling around today. We will talk about in just a second. Obviously, other huge dominoes falling. Kevin Durant, a Phoenix Sun.
Wow.
Other pieces moving around. We just had a Wiseman, Sadiq Bey swap going on. Then Atlanta jumps into the deal.
Yes.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
I am here for one thing and one thing only, and that is Will the Goat Gottlieb. I am here to watch him, his reactions. This is his day. This is his Christmas. This is what he gets down for, sir. Sir, I'm here for you.
My heart is thumping in my chest. Justin Holiday just got traded.
Oh,
it's Bulls candy. Legend.
It's
legend.
candy.
That's all he do is get traded. His closet is full of jerseys.
Wait, Justin Holiday and Frank Kaminsky to the Rockets for Garrison Matthews and Bruno Fernando.
Not Bruno.
Gary Bird, baby.
Just a fresh Woj bomb for you guys. I love that.
To talk about Bruno.
Right before we went live, Joey was laughing to us that two back-to-back comments in our live comments, shout out to everybody hanging out with us, were, "Don't trade Zach," and "Please trade Zach." Speaking of which, let's dive right into that. There are a few different sources going around earlier today saying that the Bulls are still active and taking calls regarding their two-time All-Star Zach LaVine. First one from our pal over at the Sun-Times, Joe Cowley, who just before noon said, "I heard from a source that Bulls and Knicks are revisiting trade talks on Zach LaVine. Talks began yesterday but broke off. Now they are back on." Earlier today, Matt Moore of the Action Network said in a piece, "Keep an eye on Chicago, which continues to take offers for Zach LaVine. Brooklyn and Chicago had talks before the KD trade. It's not known how the Durant trade affects Brooklyn's interest in LaVine." Both teams out there in NYC flirting around Zach LaVine. There's also this tweet from a source that I'm not super familiar with.
Talk to me.
But it is Jake Weinbach. He is a hoops hype guy, hoops habit guy, one of those.
Shout out.
The New York Knicks reportedly focus on acquiring two-time All-Star Zach LaVine from the Bulls in the framework of a potential deal. Chicago receives Fournier, D. Rose, Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, and 3 first-round picks for LaVine and our vet guard Goran Dragic. I am not super familiar with that latest Weinbach guy.
Let me say this also underneath that. Weinbach said the Knicks and Bulls have discussed the trade for LaVine. From his understanding, talks have likely stalled due to New York's reluctance to include Quentin Grimes in the deal. So don't let Quentin Grimes be the reason that you don't get a guy like Zach LaVine, New York Knicks. Seriously.
It speaks to something that I found really interesting from the Suns trade for Kevin Durant.
Okay.
You don't let a role player, no matter how good they are, get in the way of acquiring a star player.
Correct.
You don't do it.
Correct. You don't do it.
And it cost them this summer with Donovan Mitchell. It was the same story. Maybe they're a little bit more desperate now. Maybe not.
No, they're always desperate.
Maybe they think that they can, acquire 2 stars with the remaining draft capital that they have, but they did give up their own protected lottery protected first-round pick to the Blazers last night in exchange for Josh Hart. But it's just the concept of, don't let a second-year guy, 3-and-D guy, get in the way of acquiring an all-star. Not saying I would do it for either team or not.
Right, exactly. But
the
that
philosophy
should
be you get your stars and then you figure out the rest later.
Yeah, seriously.
Talavu in the comments saying, "Bring Derek home." Matt Lennon, meanwhile, saying, "Terrible deal." Let's just, hypothetically speaking, say that this trade happened. Are you guys in favor of it?
Yep.
I think I'm good with that trade. I think I'm good with that trade.
I am definitely good with it. I am a Quentin Grimes fan. I became one watching him in Summer League. when we were there and watching him just absolutely torch the Chicago Bulls. I was like, I like this guy right here. So I'm a Quentin Grimes kind of guy, so hopefully they can get him. Fournier, whatever. Obi Toppin, it's whatever. He can dunk. But the 3 first-round picks is what is very, very sexy. And, of course, that little sexy dig right in there is bringing home that man D. Rose. I'm talking about right back to Chicago. That would just be awesome. That would be an awesome thing. And Zach LaVine, I mean, he's Zach LaVine. He's really freaking good. All right? He's a good basketball player. But again, we were talking about this before the show. This is why you sign a guy like Zach LaVine, to give yourself these kind of options to help your team improve if it's not going well for you. They feel like it's not going great right now. They're taking calls. They're having conversations. You can come back with a nice haul and reset your team that way. So you can still go for the playoffs this year because you know they want to. You can still do that this season, but also improve your team going forward. I feel it's a win-win, man. I like it.
Yeah, it really comes down to who do the Bulls think they are right now?
Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are?
Big stuff.
Huh?
And I can't answer that question for Arturas, but I tweeted this out earlier, and I think it's really true. When you look at the rest of the Eastern Conference, just now at the trade deadline, the Boston Celtics added Mike Muscala. Mm-hmm. The Milwaukee Bucks added Jay Crowder.
Talk slow.
The 76ers added Jalen McDaniels, who's a really nice player. Mm-hmm. Cavs have not done anything. Brooklyn obviously shook up the entire league, trading out KD and Kyrie, but I think they're still very competitive, not to mention 10 games over 500. Mm-hmm. The Heat are sniffing around Kelly Olynyk and other players, but they haven't done anything yet. The Knicks have added Josh Hart. The Hawks just got Sadiq Bey. The Toronto Raptors just got Jakob Poeltl. The Pacers just got George Hill and Jordan Nwora. All these teams are getting themselves better, and by standing pat, you are getting pushed down the totem pole. That is my feeling about how this team is. Yes, they're in 9th place right now, but they're closer to 14th than they are to 6th. And a lot can change. So we got 51 minutes left to the trade deadline. I don't know what direction the Bulls are going in, but I'll say this. We talk a lot about how AK likes to play things close to the vest, right? I think part of that is true, that he doesn't want to get a lot leaked into the media. I think that's fair. I also think that could just mean that he's not making a lot of calls, because it doesn't take just one. I mean, the other team that AK is talking to could leak some stuff about the Bulls. So just because there hasn't been anything leaked doesn't mean that the Bulls aren't talking, but it also could mean that they're not talking. So I'm glad we're starting to hear some rumors bubble up, because at the very least it means they're starting to think about where they are as a team and what their roster needs and what direction they want to go.
And a quick reminder on that, we will hear from Arturas Karnisovas, Bulls Vice President Basketball Ops, at 4:45 Central Time today.
Let's go.
After the deadline passes, and he will do his best to explain one way or the other what the Bulls did or didn't do. Emilio in the comments saying DeRozan is going to pull a Kevin Durant and ask to be traded for a contender. If he were going to do that, Emilio, he would have needed to do it several hours before now, or days. You can't go to your front office 45 minutes before the deadline and say, hey, I'd like to be traded, please. And if DeMar DeRozan had done that, Woj, Shams, somebody on the beat would have heard about it by now. You can't. I don't think that's something you can keep private if your star player demands a trade.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's out there now. I mean, and not that he's demanding it, but the fact that they're trying to, make these trades for him. So it's out there now. I think they are making the calls. Like, ever since they've been here, they seem to be aggressive. I'm not saying they've always gotten exactly who they've wanted, but every time that the trade deadlines come up, they've been aggressive and on those phones. At least that's what I've always read about them, is they tried to make these deals. They tried to make these calls. Some worked, some didn't. But I've never known them to just be people who didn't, make those phone calls and stuff.
Well, they didn't make any phone calls this summer or at the last trade deadline. And not to say that we don't know what happened behind closed doors.
The last one.
They did not make any trades at the last.
No, I said phone calls. I said they didn't make any trades, but I'm talking about
there
calls.
were rumors about Jakob Poeltl and players like that.
Yeah.
So I assume they were on the phones, but just in terms of actual moves that they've made, we haven't seen anything here, as Eric Gordon gets sent to the LA Clippers, a big move for them.
Shams!
About time. I've been waiting for him to get traded.
I think it's just a really interesting time of year, but it is in the clutch playbook to demand a trade.
Correct.
That is not something that Rich Paul clients are afraid of doing.
Correct.
They get the bag, and then you ask out and you sort of send yourself wherever you want to go. So whether or not that was leaked, I think you have more leverage if you're Zach LaVine if it does get leaked. So if it's just like an internal private thing, then I would be kind of surprised to hear that. The optics of trading Zach right now aren't great, I think, if there was no trade request or trade demand. So we'll just have to see. I would still be surprised if anything happens, but this rumored Knicks deal is definitely intriguing.
Very, very intriguing. How do you feel about the deal, sir?
So given what I said about how the rest of the East is improving and what we've seen from this Bulls team, what we know to be all but true about Lonzo Ball and his potential return this year, I don't think you can sit on your hands for the third straight time where you can make moves. The trade deadline last year, free agency this year, and the trade deadline now. I don't think you can just sit on your hands and not do anything. So if the Bulls want to add talent, I feel okay with that. If they want to tear it down, I feel okay with that. But I think the play is getting value here. And in a deal like this where you're getting – now, I tweeted out the list of picks that the Knicks have to ship out. A handful of them are heavily protected. I would not be as interested in those.
Okay.
I would want like unprotected picks, a young player, especially if you're taking back Fournier's 3-year, $18 million per contract.
Fact.
But you got to think about value. And if you're getting a replacement shooting guard and some young players and a ton of picks, you can stay competitive now while reloading the treasure trove so that you can either make a lot of draft picks or make another big swing in some form or another around DeRozan and Vooch. But it just gives you that much more flexibility. So I think this is one of the better outcomes as far as Zach trades go.
Okay.
But I don't expect the Bulls to pull the ripcord on this group just now.
Looks good in a Bulls jersey.
First round picks, baby. 3 of them.
Yeah, I'd rather see that in the number 3 on a Bulls jersey than Dwayne Wade's name.
Clippers.
and
Be
number
one of the
3 on a
best-selling
Bulls jersey.
jerseys out there when it came.
The original picture was Dwayne Wade.
Who's going to the Grizzlies?
I'm glad you were
Luke
a
Kennard.
sucker for Garpax's plan on that
Kennard.
one.
Luke Kennard.
Kennard going to the Grizzlies.
That's a great
Also,
move.
so this tweet from Woj mentioned that it became a multi-team deal. I'm guessing that is the Grizzlies.
God,
Wait,
John Wall
the
back to
Rockets
the
are acquiring
Rockets.
John Wall
He's
in a
getting bought
3-team
out.
deal with the Grizzlies and Clippers.
What?
Can you get bought out by the same team
So-
twice in one season?
Wow. What? So
That's crazy.
This morning, there were reports from multiple NBA people saying, hey, the Clippers are still working on a John Wall trade. Get him out. He wants out.
Yeah.
And that if they don't find a trade, Wall's going to hit the buyout market,
That's-
right?
that's what we
They'll
heard.
get a buyout deal done. This now from Shams just a few seconds ago, the Rockets acquiring John Wall. What are we doing here?
Craziness is what we're doing. We're having fun. You see the joy on this
mean,
man's face right here?
I'm trying to put it together in the trade machine. Just
That's
so I
right.
can
Look
see-
at him, man. This
I
thing
want
is
to
on
see
fire.
what the
With those reports of the Bulls being perhaps in the market for a veteran point guard
Yeah.
because Alonzo ain't coming back, John Wall was one of those names thrown out there.
He was definitely one of those names.
Add this to the list of that Bulls rumor squashed.
Gone.
That Bulls rumor squashed.
Gone.
John Wall, no. Jay Crowder, no.
Outta here.
Levine for Westbrook and 2 Lakers picks.
Peace.
Bye. That's all trade deadline is Bulls fans crossing off their list one by one all of the reported and or rumored trades involving the Bulls.
That's real. That's real. But there's still one out there. We'll see how it goes because it's still time.
Is
Still
there?
time, Matt. There's still time. We'll see, sir. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
We got 520 people watching live. 520. We've
Cheers,
only
Let's
got
go,
baby.
Bulls
Cheers,
Nation.
we've only got 61 likes.
61
Oh.
likes.
That's bad
Hit 'em with
karma.
the more
Come
likes.
on,
That's bad
guys.
karma.
Get them thumbs up.
Get them likes up.
Hit the like button so that the Bulls will do what you want them to do, whether it is trade or not trade or something. Hit the like
You hit
button
the like.
and you will be blessed
Bulls
with
are
good
more
news.
likely to
Yeah.
do exactly what you want.
I
That's
just like
true.
the fact that you said hit the like because they're more likely to
You like
do
that
what
one?
you want.
Speaking of
Relax.
super chats, Jason in the comments asking how do you do
Relax.
how do you do the super chats? There's a little money, like a little dollar bill icon underneath the type something chat bar at the
Yeah.
bottom of the live chat.
Yeah, hit the super chats too, guys.
them super
Send them
chats.
shit. We're gonna
Hey,
read
Parker
them.
Leshin.
Come join us.
We went to high school together. What's up, Parker?
Hey,
Hey, how was Joey in high school? Tell us.
speaking of
older than
trades
me.
that could still happen, I saw earlier in the comments, I think it was some person named Wyatt, said that he wants me traded.
He wants you traded.
He wants
okay.
me traded.
What do you want to be
I would
traded
do it
to?
for
I
nothing
don't know,
less than
but
2 unprotected firsts.
I would do it for 2 Portillo sandwiches.
Well, joke's on you, young Joseph, because I got a no trade clause, mother. Grizzlies sending Danny Green to Houston in the deal.
Looking
according
like it's
to
going to
Woj.
be a 3-team trade with Kennard to the Grizzlies, Wall and Danny Green to the Rockets, and Eric Gordon to the Clippers.
And the Grizzlies sending 3 second-round picks to the Clippers from Woj just now.
Man, I like Eric Gordon there. That's a good fit.
Yeah. No, seriously. It's a
need
really
shooting.
good fit. Yeah.
They need an additional ball handler.
Yes.
The John Wall experience wasn't really working out.
You could cheat with him at point guard. You can cheat.
I think that's a really good move for them.
I agree. I agree, man. Like I've been wanting him to be traded for a couple years now, man. He's just not been happy down there in Houston, man. He needs this opportunity. And a rejuvenated guy, a rejuvenated veteran,
he's going to be happy
like
to be
that.
there.
He's going to be hyped up and ready to go, man. He provides that shooting that they need. Putting him with a guy like Tyronn Lue as well. Too.
Clearly did not get the accurate tips from Harden about where all the best strip clubs were.
Oh,
I mean, how do you not like Houston?
he's all strip clubbed out.
What do you
know
guys
what I
think
mean?
about it from the Grizzlies' perspective, getting Luke Kennard for basically Danny Green?
I like it. Wait, doesn't Luke Kennard have like a nice contract, a big contract?
14.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So I guess obviously they're making a move to go for it. You know what
But
I mean?
they have a lot of space.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I want to go for it. I want to win. No, adding a shooter, to a team like that is never a bad thing. They score inside all day long.
Adding a shooter?
Adding a
You're
shooter
going to
like
have to expound upon that. I'm not, as a Bulls fan, I'm not really familiar what that phrase means.
I got you. I understand, man. Shooting is something, we'll go Gottlieb. You've seen his form. That's what he does, man. You go up and you put the ball in the air, it spins and rotates and looks pretty, and then it lands right into the basket, because you can get those buckets
And
that way.
there are players out there?
There are.
They can do that?
If a long time ago, there was a Chicago Bull player named
Craig
Hodges.
No, I could be getting his name wrong. Is it Lonzo Bell?
Oh.
Bell?
No, you're getting it wrong. It's Matt Thomas.
No. I didn't say legend. You know what I'm saying? See, I didn't say legend.
Wow,
Oh, okay. We got Shams saying the Clippers are trading Pat Bev to the Orlando Magic for Mo Bamba.
Oh,
Wait.
Bamba.
Mo Bamba.
Since
The Lakers.
Yeah, I was
the
gonna say,
Lakers.
why did he tweet like Clippers? He deleted that and
Because
corrected
he's just
himself.
going crazy.
I was like, wait, did Pat Bev get traded to the Clippers
was
last
so
night? You didn't know
Crazy
it?
right now.
Lakers trading Pat Bev to Orlando for Mo Bamba. Meanwhile, Shams also tweeting that a Western Conference contender has emerged as a suitor for OG Anunoby.
Don't send him to the Clippers, man. That would be.
I said before we went live, I just have a feeling in the next 40 minutes, OG, Memphis Grizzly. They got to do it.
OG, Grizzlies,
I think they should.
They be vicious.
They've got so much. They have so many assets that they're just holding on to, waiting to, you got to consolidate some talent at some point if you can. It's gonna be tough now because they just traded Danny Green though. So I don't think that's now it's really tough from a salary perspective.
Meanwhile, the annoying tweet from Shams where he just said Western Conference contender, there's a video underneath it where he says that Western Conference contender is the Golden State Warriors. Mm-hmm. So Warriors emerging as a front runner to get OG Anunoby.
They basically just cleared Wiseman's salary for nothing. They got 5 picks. They freed up a roster spot, which they'll use to convert either Ty Jerome or Anthony Lamb to a regular contract. I'm not really sure what the rest of the matching salary would be to get that pick. And then, the draft capital they have, you're looking at Kuminga, Moody, and maybe the 2026 pick, but that doesn't quite get you there money-wise. So that'll be interesting to see.
Very interesting. Very interesting. This is awesome.
Sources said Lakers sending second-round draft compensation with Pat Bev to Orlando for Bamba. Meanwhile, that's just Woj retweeting that Magic are trading.
Wow, man.
Bamba
Warriors
to the
getting OG
Lakers.
Ananobi would be
colossal.
Dude.
Vicious.
I still think that the Warriors are lurking, man.
Of course. Of course they are.
To me, it's like it doesn't matter what seed they get.
No,
even if they end up in the play-in, if they get out of the play-in and get seeded somewhere 1 through 8.
Correct.
Nope. They're the freaking Warriors, man. Obviously, you hope that Steph, this most recent injury from a few days ago, I think they've estimated to be about a month-long injury. Maybe he comes back soon after All-Star break, ready to go.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, Warriors, one of the many teams making moves, trying to improve themselves.
Doing this thing,
Meanwhile, we Bulls fans sit here and wait.
Wait, baby.
40 minutes to go until the official deadline.
40 minutes
Our
left.
producer, Joseph, just
Spathis.
threw a poll up in the comments. Everybody cast your votes, asking, should the Bulls trade Zach LaVine to the Knicks for Grimes, D. Rose, Toppin, and 3 first-round picks? Don't forget Evan Fournier, salary matcher, Joseph. Huge
didn't
part of that
forget,
deal,
I
Evan Fournier.
I purposely did not type his name out.
Early poll results have yes leading no, 63% to 37%.
As far as that,
As far as would they be in favor of that trade, sending Zach to the
do
Knicks?
it.
That's what they're saying.
Do it. And again, from what I'm just reading right there, it's not the Bulls holding this trade up.
Yeah.
It's Quentin Grimes holding this trade up. That's on the Knicks. So they're trying to do the deal, but two teams have to do. It takes two to tango.
I think it's interesting to think about this from both the Bulls' perspective and from the rest of the teams. I mean, how much are you operating out of FOMO here? Do you feel like everybody's gotten better, we need to do something? Because that's kind of how I felt this offseason. I'm a little less anxious to get something done just for the sake of getting something done because of where the Bulls are in the standings. But you look around the rest of these teams, maybe the Grizzlies do feel pressure to throw in an extra first-round pick for OG. Maybe the Warriors do make this, expand this into a 4-team deal that would get them OG, and they could send Kuminga and Moody to the Raptors. That would make all the salaries match. So there's a lot of interesting moves that can go on, and I think the closer we get to 2 p.m., the more teams make moves around you, the more the price goes up on some of these other players.
I like that. I like his ideology right there. Yeah, man, we'll see. Can Quentin Grimes be the reason that they don't get this? That would be interesting to me. That would be very, very interesting to me to see.
Meanwhile, we've got a super chat from The Light. We'll read this, talk about it, and then we'll take our first quick break. If The Light with a super chat saying, if we trade Zach, how do we come across another Zach? We may have issues with him, but Zach is actually really good. What are the odds? I assume you mean, what are the odds we find ourselves another one? That is a fair question and a fair point that those not in favor of trading Zach away can make. I mean, if you rewind back to breaking up the 3 alphas, which, of course, was mostly about deciding to trade Jimmy Butler and not keep him and build around him, people say, well, okay, how do you find yourself a player that good or close to that good? Zach LaVine turned himself into an all-star, like Jimmy turned himself into an all-star, and Zach came from that trade. If you do this again, you're starting over. Where is your next star coming from?
I don't necessarily think you are starting over. And I don't know, did you say you want to take an ad break before we get into this?
No, we could talk about it for a little bit and then take an ad break.
Okay.
We got 2 hours. So we got even more
2
time
hours today
to fit in our ad breaks.
I think, obviously, you are losing the high ceiling player here, right? Like, Zach, in theory, elevates you and your organization to a higher level than if you replace him with Evan Fournier.
Yeah.
But does something about adding Fournier and a young player or 2 with upside allow you to stay relatively as competitive? And let's be real, they are a play-in team right now.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like they're getting any higher
are.
than that. It seems like even best case scenario is that they probably get to the first round, and it doesn't seem like they have a chance to win. So what are you really missing out on by trading Zach LaVine? Is that higher ceiling? And if the ceiling isn't high to begin with, then maybe it does make sense to start thinking of alternatives. If you're to trade Zach, you bring in a shooter and a young player, you still have DeMar, you still have Vooch, you still have Caruso, and maybe you add a little bit more shooting in the form of Grimes and Fournier. All of a sudden, you're relatively as competitive. The floor is probably the same. The ceiling isn't as high, but you're also replenishing all the draft picks that you sent out to go get DeMar, to go get Vooch, to go get Lonzo. And I think it raises your floor down the line too, to where you can maybe get an extra hit in the draft, or you can parlay those picks into another good player.
Right.
Maybe they decide to see how it goes with DeMar and Vooch for the rest of this year if Zach is gone, and then move those guys and really accelerate the rebuild. But I wrote this a couple weeks ago, and I still believe it's true. If the Bulls do decide to go in the opposite direction and rebuild, just because it went poorly last time does not mean that it's going to go poorly this next time, because you're setting yourself up with additional draft capital, which the Bulls did not do last time, and you give yourself a chance to develop players under a new front office and management team.
True.
I don't think the Bulls, I mean, you can talk about what they got back for Jimmy Butler in that trade specifically, but the fact that they didn't make any other moves with the exception of Nikola Mirotic for a first-round pick that turned into Chandler Hutchison, they didn't make any other moves to accumulate draft picks to try to get better. The only thing they did was try to raise the value of their own pick.
Right.
And what we're seeing in today's NBA is you need to do way more than that. And if the Bulls were to trade Zach today, it would be for probably 3 times as much as what they got for Jimmy Butler, and that just sets you up really well for the future.
And I like that answer because it answers a side question someone might have with saying, like, isn't this the same thing for Jimmy? Like, you thought that he would be here and the Bulls would just be a team that's barely making the playoffs and, you know, barely getting to 500, keeping him here. But I like how you broke that down and explained it right there. Like, it's a little bit better because of the capital you can get back this time.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of in that same position now.
Correct.
Right? Except for you don't have your picks. So if you can stay in the same position, albeit with a lower ceiling, and start to really load up on future draft picks, I think that sets you up really well. Obviously, I think I said this before, the optics of trading Zach, if he hasn't demanded a trade, aren't great. You just signed this guy to a max contract. He's a 2-time All-Star. But the Bulls are in a position where they have to not operate out of fear that they're going to give the Magic the 5th pick. They cannot operate out of fear of what the optics would look like if they traded Zach LaVine. They have to do what's best for the franchise right now and moving forward. As the front office, you have to weigh those and do whatever you have to do to set yourself up for the future. I think this could be a move that does that. Not necessarily, but as we talked about with some of these other teams, the clock is ticking. Teams want to make the playoffs. Teams have a ton of draft picks and a ton of young players that they can move. Maybe you find someone who's a little desperate and you get as much as you possibly can out of them. I think that's not the worst outcome in the world.
All right, let's take a quick break here. We'll come back. We'll get to plenty more of y'all's comments, thoughts. We got a couple more super chats to get to. Got nearly 700 people hanging out with us watching on deadline day. Shout out to all you diehard Bulls fans out there who are in the middle of theoretically a work day. It is Thursday at 1:30 in the afternoon. Bless all y'all's hearts for hanging out with us.
Hit the like.
Hit
Hit
that
it.
thumbs up button.
likes.
Make Joey happy
Make sure
and hit
you
the
subscribe.
likes.
I
to
love that.
HGO
Make him happy,
Sports
hit the likes.
on YouTube.
Yes.
Almost at 25K subscribers.
Almost at 25K subscribers.
Oh my gosh.
Hit them subscribes.
Let's get to 25K
Like
on our
and
deadline
subscribe.
special.
See them thumbs
Like
going
and
up.
subscribe.
Hit them thumbs up.
Ooh, you
Y'all
know
get
what?
to 300. Will's going to sing a song.
You know what gets my thumbs pointed up,
I
Dave?
did not agree to that.
You already sang one with me. Come on.
It's another song.
It was a song. I'll sing it with you.
Okay.
All right.
We'll
We'll
talk.
do it together.
We'll talk.
Will and Big Dave duet. Cover that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just asking you if you knew what gets my thumbs pointed up.
Oh, it's segue time. Oh, yeah. We'll get your thumbs
Roman?
pointing up, Matthew.
Meat
Roman?
sticks.
Meat sticks.
Obviously. Meat sticks get 2 thumbs up. Especially those delicious meat sticks from Green Ridge Farm, a Chicago
man.
local meat and cheese company offering you a better all-natural option. Makers of all-natural deli meat sausages and those famous, delicious meat sticks. Perfect for tailgating, happy hours, school lunches, stressed out trade deadline day snacks. These all-natural meat sticks are hardwood smoked for 8 hours. Plus, with 16 grams of protein per stick, they make a perfect post-workout snack. Maybe after the deadline passes and you're all high-strung, you need to get the blood pumping, get yourself an afternoon workout in, then grab yourself a Green Ridge Farm meat stick.
Yeah.
If you haven't tried them yet, y'all, seriously, you don't know what you're missing.
At all.
They are delicious, made from recipes generations in the making, and being all natural, they deliver a fresh and flavorful alternative at snack time. You can always find them in the refrigerated section of Costco, Sam's Club, or your local Chicagoland grocery stores.
Yeah.
And right now, if you shop on their website, greenridgefarm.com, and place 3 of their items in your shopping cart, add a pack of meat sticks to your order, use promo code CHGO at checkout, those meat sticks are free.
Yeah.
Free meat sticks. Best 3 words put together with promo code CHGO at greenridgefarm.com.
Yo, somebody said my patience can wait. Tune in. I love it, man.
Oh, like P-A-T-I.
yes,
That
my
patience?
patience can wait. Yes.
Somebody else said, I'm drinking a beer shaking.
Oh my goodness.
Hey man,
Hey.
I cracked an
Same,
afternoon,
brother.
Hey,
Only
man.
30 minutes left. We're
I'm with
almost
you, but
there.
I ain't no shaking here. But I'm with you, man.
It's there's no shaking.
No
but
shaking.
This is one of those crack your first beer at 1 in the afternoon kind of
Hey,
days.
come on, right there, sir, right there.
Shout out to Goose Island.
Shout out to you, Goose Island Beer. Oh, and over here, right there, you see that man Will the Go Gottlieb, and you know what Will the Go Gottlieb does? He plays golf. And he might tell you that he can't play it, but he plays it better than anybody that you're looking at on your screen right now.
Anybody.
Bar's low,
Promise you
folks.
that. It could be a low bar, but it's still better than us. And that's the truth. And that's why he needs that Pins and Aces apparel, just like you, because they're the official golf apparel partner of CHGO, and he loves that Pins and Aces gear and gets tons of compliments on and off the course. Family-owned golf business, golf and apparel business for you people out there. Guess what they make? Guess what they make? Those amazing polos, those hats, them golf bags, and of course, that world-renowned, world-famous beer sleeve. Oh, that innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep them drinks for a rusty code the entire round, or if you're Matt Peck, half of that round.
Half a round.
It just depends on how you're doing your thing.
I can only play 9 holes anyway.
That's right.
get
Miniature
tired.
golf. Yes, you can take it to miniature golf and still do the same thing, y'all. It still works. So check out pinsandaces.com. Use that code CHGO and receive 15% off your first order and get your beautiful self some free shipping. Why don't you? That is pinsandaces.com, because when you look good, you play good. And when you play good, it's all good.
It's all
Can you
good.
have an
Hey.
open container on a mini golf course?
Good question. Can you do this one?
on the mini golf course?
Yeah.
You just said, if you're not a good golfer, but maybe want to play some mini golf, but still enjoy
Maybe-
that
I'm
beer
not sure.
sleeve.
It might be course
from
to course rules.
Pins and Aces.
On a real golf
Maybe,
course,
maybe
though,
certain mini golf courses
Why do
allow
you think
you
I play?
to have an open container. Only one way to find out. Where's
Only
the
if
nearest
it's
mini,
Goose Island.
That's
mini
true.
golf course in Chicago?
Joe,
if
you
it's
play
Goose
mini
Island.
golf? Can you bring? Do you know if you can bring?
No, I mean, I don't think. I mean, maybe. So what they actually do have now is like they have a lot of mini golf bars that are like
Really?
indoor,
Oh,
and
wow.
you go in and it's like smaller, but the holes are very like. So I did one of these in Australia. Now they're all over the United States, but they're like the holes are very like themed and very like there's a lot of obstacles, and then you can go there and you can
What you're
drink.
describing is a mini golf course.
But you get like a
No,
fancy
you can
cocktail to go
drink,
alongside.
you can eat, but it's like it's more elaborate than just a normal. Like
I
the
see.
holes were very, whatever.
I got you, Joey. I got you.
Themed holes with elaborate obstacles is a mini golf course. Shout out to Tommy or Tomi, who said it's a work day in Finland. Wait, Joey, put that back up. Where'd it go? I was
Where'd
just
it go?
reading it.
Where'd it go?
9:30 p.m. in Finland, and I believe they were saying that it's cool for them to be able to get to hang out live with us.
Nice, man.
So maybe you're a responsible adult who's not up in the middle of the night watching Bulls games live. Maybe you're watching them after. There you go.
Oh, tell me about these Laurie marketing situations that have happened in Finland. I know you've sat and watched these games over there, sir. Would love to hear more about that, Tommy. I'm
Tommy
a
weighing
fan.
in with the opinion to say, hey, make that trade with the Knicks. We need to move on from Zach.
And also, tell me how the Laurie marketing hot sauce tastes to you.
Ooh.
I'd like to know that.
Indeed.
That's your opinion.
Quick time update, 1:35 p.m. Central Time.
Thank you, Matthew.
25 minutes away from the deadline. We have seen also in recent years that deadline is not necessarily a hard one, that maybe there are certain teams discussing these deals that as they're getting finalized, it trickles past that 2 p.m. Central deadline. So we could see some, announced trades that are
wanna
finalized
know
get
what's great
announced
about that?
after 2.
Want to know what's great about that?
What's that?
We're live till 3.
We're live till 3.
Hey!
We're breaking it down either way, whether they
You're
make a
welcome.
move or not.
Said that with his chest. He meant that one. Get all this. All of it. This is such a happy day. He's been happy ever since I walked in. Will has been happy.
Day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
When trades were made.
When trades were made.
Where's Whoopi?
Hey!
Get Whoopi in here.
Come on, man. I told you a song was coming.
Hey.
Switched it up. Brought in a new guy for the band. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Matthew Peck on the vocals.
I'm just not allowed to dance. I can sing, but I'm not
Oh,
allowed
no,
to dance.
you can sing. Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen Will dance. I might allow him to dance. I think Will might be able to cut a rug or two. I don't know. Something about him says
Will doesn't strike me as the dancing in public type.
I don't know, but I think he can cut a rug though. I think he gets around. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
some proper things.
I must be really mysterious because you guys are just all over the place with this.
Yeah, man. We're gonna make up your story. That's what we're gonna do.
That's good, and I'll allow it. I'll allow it. You guys come up with whatever you want to come up
There
with.
you go. But it all makes you just realize that you're the GOAT. That's all it does, sir. Because he is the GOAT.
There
Please don't
was
much more than
another trade that went down while we were discussing other trades and possible trades. Pelicans and Spurs. Spurs making moves.
Spurs.
Jakob Poeltl. Now this. Spurs trading Josh Richardson to the Pels for Devontae Graham and 4 second-round picks. Josh Richardson, a name that came up in one of our hypothetical trades that we've been talking about in recent weeks. I think it wasn't Jakob Poeltl and Josh Richardson was that proposed trade. That was one of yours, Will.
It was.
So both of the players in that
those guys
trade
did get traded.
2 expiring deals on the Spurs books did get traded, just not to us.
Right.
Clairvoyant Will.
He's on top of things. Let me talk about that Poeltl trade, right? Because I didn't think he would be traded. We talked about this last time, and I was like, I don't see how they trade him or let him go. I thought that he would be a guy they kind of build around going forward. And, because obviously they're tanking for Wembanyama. I thought they would at least keep him just in case that didn't work out and they didn't get him. They'd have somebody to build around. So that was a little surprising to me that they got rid of Jakob. How did you feel?
Even more surprising was the fact that for weeks now, we've been expecting the Raptors to be the team that tears it down to
Yeah,
Right.
that was the most surprising part to
And
me.
they went out and sold a first-round pick to go get a guy who's 27 years old and that they're going to have to pay this upcoming summer. So I thought that was really interesting. And again, it speaks to this idea that teams in the East below and above the Bulls are getting better. And where does that leave you if you're the Bulls?
Stuck? Yeah, and it is interesting. There was that most recent Shams video tweet saying that the Warriors are going aggressively after OG Anunoby. So it's sort of like, well, are the Raptors trying to add? Or if they give up Anunoby for probably a lot of draft capital, that seems sort of like conflicting ideologies. If they do make that trade, pull the trigger and trade Anunoby away. I don't know.
There's probably a lesson to be taken from some of this too. Like they're one of the best front offices in the league, one of the best, Masai's one of the best executives, and even though they're probably not in an immediate contention window, they're like, hey, if this is good value for a good player, let's jump on that. We don't. It doesn't have to make sense for this season, but if we like that player,
Value is value.
Right.
That
Exactly.
is the name of the game. Can I just say this? I want to go through the teams in the league and see what they've done so far. So Eastern Conference, Celtics made a move. Mike Muscala. Bucks, Jay Crowder. 76ers, Jalen McDaniels. Cavs have not done anything yet. Nets obviously blew up their entire roster. Heat have not done anything yet. Knicks traded for Josh Hart. Hawks traded for Sadiq Bey. Bulls have not done anything yet. That's 3 teams. Raptors have done something. Wizards made the Hachimura trade a couple of weeks ago. Pacers made some moves today. My Siri just turned on randomly.
Hey, Siri, what's up?
Orlando Magic just traded for Patrick Beverley. Hornets traded Jalen McDaniels. Pistons just traded Sadiq Bey. Nuggets made 2 moves. Grizzlies got Kennard. Kings have not done anything. That's 4 teams. Mavericks traded for Kyrie. Suns traded for KD. Clippers just made a trade. Pelicans just made a trade. Timberwolves.
Clippers just made another trade.
Another trade for the
Woj bomb just now.
Woj bomb. Come on, Matt.
Are you ready?
No.
The most talented center
wow.
in the NBA is on the move, guys.
Zubac Shakur?
The Hornets are trading Mason Plumlee to the Clippers.
Oh! Mason Plumlee.
Man.
That's
Plumlee's are going.
That's a good gap for them.
Clippers are all kinds of active.
They just need front court depth. They run into a lot of matchups where Zubac's, and they're kind of similar players, but it just gives them more options and some playoff series, and he's a good offensive player.
That was also a destination in one of my fake trades for the Bulls for Vooch as a center upgrade. So that might be out of the picture now, especially when they brought in Eric Gordon for a ton of money. But as I was listening through those teams, the point was only 3 teams in the East have not made a trade, and the Bulls are one of them. Most of the teams in the league have now had some roster turnover. And for me, more than just value or should they or shouldn't they blow it up or what should – I think that they just need some new blood in there.
Yeah.
I think things are stagnant, and they need a talent infusion.
Even the Hornets making moves?
The Hornets.
MJ does not care.
The Andersons got tickets?
The Andersons made moves. Speaking of which, Reggie Jackson being sent by the Clips back to Charlotte for Plumlee.
That's perfect place for him, man. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Perfect
Reggie
place.
in Charlotte.
Yeah. He's like green, light.
Take them shots, Reg.
He's like, yes, I am shooting.
Going up.
That's a team that trading a guy, even though I love Reggie Jackson, but trading him is like we're really trying to win.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Reggie, you know what I mean? Like, no, dude, you got to go. We can't afford these other things.
It opens up a spot for Russell Westbrook, who we haven't talked about yet.
Correct. The buyout of Russell Westbrook.
Jeff in the comments said, thank God Will isn't my GM. So not everyone follows that logic.
You can't make everyone happy.
I mean, no, you can. And it's so funny to see these comments coming through. We've got so many people in live chat today. Shout out. We got over 800 people watching now. People have very differing opinions. There are people in the comments screaming, trade Zach LaVine, trade him now, take what you can get. And some saying, don't trade Zach for picks. You're setting this franchise back again. Mm-hmm. If you do that, you're starting over. Don't want to start over. It's just, everyone has different ideas. It's wild.
Well, can you
every team but the Bulls, the Cavs, and the Heat have made a move.
Can you expound for me though on the players if this trade gets made, for the Bulls, like how those players can actually help this team this season, not just as a next season thing, a guy like Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, of course, D Rose. But how can those guys help this team immediately if the Bulls make this trade?
So, Fournier is a little bit I'm not sure where he's at. He's been sort of out of the rotation, but I think a lot in large part due to the fact that the Knicks are trying to start to develop some of their young guys. But if the Bulls retain DeMar and Vooch and are anti-tanking because they don't own their own draft pick, he might help you. He might provide some extra spacing and some extra ball handling juice. He's got the European connection with Vooch. Those guys are friends. So I think that he has potential to help you at the 2 spot. Obviously, again, not as good as Zach LaVine, nowhere close, but he provides some of the same skill sets. You bring in Quentin Grimes, another 3-and-D guy, which the Bulls have none of right now with Lonzo out. That helps you. You bring in Obi Toppin, who really just never put it together. And I think I've said this before. I'm not a huge fan of his. A little bit older coming out of the draft, but clearly has some talent there. And maybe you can figure out a way to develop him a bit. And then you bring home Derrick Rose. And we've been talking about the Bulls needing point guard help.
And leadership.
And leadership. So it adds intrigue. It adds, I think, some new excitement while filling some holes, quite frankly. I mean, they're not going to be as high end of a ceiling team as they would with Zach, but it does address some of the flaws. And so maybe that does help you. Maybe the sum becomes, more of the parts than the kind of style that they're playing right now.
Can you tell me quickly where I can buy some ball handling juice?
Ball handling juice?
Just threw out there. Where can I purchase this?
They may have it at the corner store.
Corner store? Okay, down the market?
Yeah,
right,
after
we'll go there after
this.
this?
Yeah, we'll have to
go
check it out.
We'll check it out. We'll check it out.
Derek in the comments asking, any chance someone like Vooch or Kobe gets moved instead? We've been primarily talking about whether or not these Zach rumors might happen. I think it's good to think about them, and we can talk about them after the deadline passes. If the Bulls do stand pat, what that signifies for those 2 players. Vooch, a vet on an expiring deal, about to hit free agency. Right. Do the Bulls not moving him mean that they're going to re-sign him to a new contract this summer?
It's a good question.
I have a lot of thoughts about
it's either that. It's either that, or you're letting him walk for nothing.
Yeah,
and we all know what they gave up to get him. Wendell, whatever, but you gave up 2 first round picks.
Or the sign and trade is the third option, I think.
Or just the sign. I mean, they could end up paying him this summer.
Right, they could.
And really
and then
locking
the same
yourself
thing
into this same core, doing the same thing next year, except you're a little bit older. But Mark and I talked about this yesterday on our show.
Flex.
In more detail than I'll probably go into now.
Goat and the bloke.
But the goat and the bloke. But the Bulls, even if they just want to bring back the exact same team that they have right now, next year, they're not going to be able to do that while staying below the luxury tax. And we know they're not going to go into the luxury tax, certainly with this team. So what do they have to do? They have to make a move. They have to let Vooch walk for nothing or trade one of those guys. And maybe that means a restricted free agent sign and trade for Kobe. But if you're going to pay Io, you want to keep Javante, you want to keep Kobe, and you want to keep Vooch, you basically have to go into the luxury tax. So in order to get ahead of that, you either extend Vooch for a much cheaper number than he's probably willing to take, or you have to make some hard decisions right now. And with 14 minutes before the deadline, I'm not sure they're going to do that. So this summer becomes extremely interesting because not only do you kind of lock yourself into the same group, you're potentially even a lesser version of what you are now because it's going to be difficult to bring back all 4 of those guys.
Correct. That's true.
And Kobe being a restricted free agent this summer,
has
his recent play convinced AK and Eversley we're going to keep Kobe around and sign him to a new deal? Because I feel like if they were going to trade Kobe, now was the time.
Yeah,
because he's been balling out for the last month or so.
Correct.
His trade value, I don't think, has ever been higher than it is right now.
Yeah.
And some team out there might be willing to say, yeah, we know we got to sign him to a new contract, and we're getting him as a half-season loaner and then negotiating, but we want him that badly, so we're going to do that.
Yeah. If continuity is their thing that they keep saying, then yes, they're going to bring him back.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not going to make the move for him to make the trade. So I think there's a better, and I think that's the question I want to ask you too, Will. Like, is it a better, not option that I'm trying to say, but
Pass?
as far as who you bring back, do you see them bringing back more of Kobe White, or do you see them bringing back more of Nikola Vucevic? Because of course you can make arguments for both, or are they bringing back both? But you can make arguments for both. But I think if you get one, I think the other one is going to be a guy you sign and trade.
I think more likely than not, it would have to be Kobe in a sign and trade. One, because they own his restricted free agency rights. So what they'll do is similar to what they did with Lowry. Kobe, go find yourself a contract from another team. We will basically strong arm them into a sign and trade because we can just match. Now, the other team will say, Bulls, we know you're not going to the tax. Like, we're not going to let you strong arm us. They're maybe going to give something up, but not as much. The Bulls got the lottery protected pick from Portland and Derek Jones for Lauri Markkanen. I would not expect the Bulls to get quite as much for Kobe. Certainly, there won't be as much interest in Kobe on the free agent market. But, I mean, if you're continuing to try to be good, if you're continuing to try to, preach continuity and see what happens with this group, assuming Lonzo can be healthy for the start of next year, then you got to bring back Vooch. You just do. And you're locking yourself into another year with the same group, but a lesser version of that same group because you're losing Kobe and not adding anything.
And everyone in that group is aging another year, where with Vooch and DeMar particularly, Zach is still aging into his prime a little bit.
Joey, can you click that right there? Tommy talking about the Lowry hot sauce, because I sure wanted to know. Said the Lowry hot sauce, it is really good on wings in a restaurant in Finland. That he rocks with it.
I like that Lowry has got those sauces distributed to restaurants in Finland.
He's getting bigger and bigger. My guy's getting up there.
Wait, he's probably making all new kinds of flavors. He's an all-star now.
All new flavors.
He's got all-star money.
Like Buffalo Ranch he's coming out with, man. He's doing it.
Speaking of forwards / big men that Bulls fans have some sort of interest in, this is a name that was getting tossed around by certain people. Not anything concretely reported, but I know Bulls fans have been obsessed with this guy. This is from Chris Haynes just a few seconds ago.
Shout out.
Atlanta Hawks plan to keep John Collins past the trade deadline.
Shocking.
League sources tell NBA on TNT and Bleacher Report.
Collins,
after all of those rumors, staying put in Atlanta.
Incredibly interesting, man. Everything had him leaving from the moment the season started. They had him going somewhere else, man. And they're going to hang on to him. That's
not only that,
really
but they added a player at his position.
Right. Yes, man.
So
yes.
We do have a comment here from Pat who says, New York reporter Alan Hahn on ESPN New York radio saying the Knicks are still working on a significant deal.
Right. So. Deals are still being made.
Significant deal.
And if you're a team like the Knicks, not only does a trade for Zach LaVine help you get better, but it removes one of your potential.
Wow, another trade.
Hit me, Joey.
Blazers are trading Gary Payton back to the Warriors.
No,
for 5 second-round
picks.
What is going on?
This will always be remembered as the year of 5 second-round picks.
And not only that, it's the same 5 second-round picks getting shuffled around the league.
Oh my God!
But
this
Gary
is
Payton
wild.
was fantastic for the Warriors.
Fantastic. For
I
them.
love this for him
he
and
was
the
their
Warriors.
Caruso for
Dude.
them. Absolutely.
And that means that they're not going to go get Caruso.
Guarantee it.
After on the heels of this Gary Payton coming back.
Wow.
Here it is. Warriors repeating, y'all. Calling it now.
He called
Gary
it.
Payne was the missing piece.
He was the missing
That's crazy.
piece.
The missing
Dude,
Payton.
that's a huge
Go get
deal.
him, Dubs.
That's a huge
Go
deal,
get him,
man.
Dubs.
Wow. Oh, the West is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
We'll talk about that when all this is. But I wanted to ask both you guys, actually, because we have sat here and discussed, you know what I'm saying, why the Bulls should make this trade for Zach LaVine. What's the argument against that? Why they shouldn't make this trade, or how it helps the Bulls in any kind of way to not make this trade?
Because you kind of owe it to yourself to continue building what you've already built and doubled down on and tripled down on. Mm-hmm. And I think they obviously have hope that not only Lonzo will come back, but that Lonzo will come back and be the guy that they need him to be and that they need for this Bulls team to get back to the way that they were playing. Mm-hmm. They have proof of concept. They did play well.
Yes.
And so giving up on that, I think would be a hard thing to do. Mm-hmm. You also run the risk of upsetting your ownership group. They may not want to head down that path.
Because of all the money they just spent.
But yeah, I think the big thing for me is like you take yourself out of the running. And I don't think anybody has an appetite for another complete teardown. Now, this proposed deal that we've been talking about with Fournier and Grimes, maybe that doesn't make you quite as bad. Mm-hmm. And I think, in fact, it helps you stay competitive at the very least while adding younger players to develop and a lot of draft picks.
True.
But you just signed this guy to a 5-year max contract, the first and most expensive max contract that Jerry Reinsdorf's ever given out.
It's a fact.
The optics of it, I think, are just it's too tough of a pill to swallow. And that's why I'm not expecting anything to happen in the next 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
8 minutes. So what deal do you think the Knicks might be working on, man?
I think they're working on that deal, but I don't think it gets done.
Okay. All right. Goat has spoken, ladies and gentlemen. Take it to the
However, I will say, again, the part that is, I don't know, confusing to me, that is, I hesitate to use the word upsetting, but sort of like dumbfounded by this concept that they can go through last trade deadline when they were actually good and had a chance to put themselves over the top. They didn't do anything. This summer, not knowing what the status of Lonzo was going to be after he went basically double the amount of time and then was ruled out for the rest of the season. And then now when things continue to be on this same path, you've said a couple days ago that you're going to evaluate everything from last trade deadline. How can you look at this team and say we're onto something here? We owe it to ourselves to keep on keeping on with this group. Even if it's a fringe roster move, even if it's like something that gives you help now, like I've said this before, I don't necessarily think that we've seen enough to warrant continuing to invest draft capital into this group.
Okay.
But they need to do something, especially with how much better the Cavs got, how much better the Hawks got this past summer. And now all these teams are making additions, not subtractions, but additions to help their stock now. I don't see how the Bulls can let this happen around them, to let the landscape of the East continue to get better while you continue to do nothing. I think that's where I think it gets really tricky. And like I've said before, I'm not sure that this is the best time to make any giant splashes, whether it's Zach or even a smaller move. But if you go into next season with this same group, I think you are significantly hamstringing yourself, and probably you just have a false idea of what this group can be.
And it's fun because I gave them a pass at the trade deadline last year just because of how many unknown questions there were. With Patrick Williams' injury, with Lonzo's injury, they had no clue what was going on with that and thought he'd be back. And that's why I would think they were like, well, even AK said it himself. Like he thought he was coming back, and he was like, well, that's like acquiring, a pickup at the trade deadline. That's how he, kind of referenced to it, because he thought he was coming back. So I understood that. But to go into the season knowing the flaws that you had, knowing the shooting that you were missing, knowing the interior defense that you needed, and then say we're going to evaluate that come this trade deadline, there's little room for the excuse on this one, or little room for the wiggle room that I was giving out last year. On this one, you know what the problems are. You know what it is. You know what Lonzo's issue is. You know what the issues of the team are. So, yeah, you have to make those moves to try to get it better. And for me, it wasn't even – if you're not going to get the guys that we think you need, like as far as shooting and defense is concerned, you have to pick up somebody that's going to help this team, you know what I mean, even get to the playoffs. That is clearly the goal. So if you're going to do that,
You're not
make
going to
that
just
move.
end up getting better by doing nothing.
That's
when
what I'm
everybody else
saying.
is going
Right.
out.
You have to do something. Get someone to help move this along. So the fact that you can come this close and still look like you're not going to do anything, then I can definitely understand the frustration of Bulls Nation out there for sure.
Speaking of not do anything, this from Knicks reporter for SNY, Ian Begley, just minutes ago.
Hit me.
On Zach LaVine, Knicks communicated to someone earlier this afternoon that a trade for LaVine was highly unlikely to happen. Highly unlikely. So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance. There was out there.
What was
Now,
all that
I'll
1 in
say
a
this.
million talk?
I don't think this. I don't think this precludes the Knicks and the Bulls from revisiting these conversations. in the summer.
Precludes. You heard him.
Right.
We saw what happened a couple years ago when the Bulls were sniffing around Lonzo at the deadline.
Yeah.
And they didn't do anything. Well, they went and tampered and got him in the next offseason. So, not to say that this couldn't happen, but seems like it's unlikely now with 3 minutes to go here.
3 minutes to go, guys.
3 minutes to go. Speaking of which, we've been coming down to our first hour of our 2 hour long NBA
hour
trade
today.
special. We've got over 1,000 of you out there in Bulls Nation watching along.
hanging
Appreciate
out.
that. Appreciate every one of you for hanging out with us on a
That's amazing.
weekday afternoon.
Thank y'all.
People love the trade deadline, y'all.
They do, man.
I love the trade deadline.
it.
Christmas time.
There's
Hit the
over
like,
1,000
guys.
of you watching. How about some of you who have more recently arrived? Hit that thumbs up button for us.
Yeah. Hit
As,
those like
as Joey
buttons.
just showed you, we like likes.
Yeah, we enjoy
doesn't
the
like
likes,
likes?
man. 1,000 watching, what, and 300 likes? We can do better.
What is something we can offer if we get above 500 likes? We're at
Already hit the
375 right now.
I mean, I already hit the vocals, man. You know what I'm saying? Joey,
Right.
what you got for the people?
What?
What you got for the people? You heard me.
what do you think we should offer our viewers?
Here we go.
As
Here
an
we go. All right,
incentive?
you ready for this?
No.
If we get to 500 likes,
Oh, shit. We're already 421.
I will
Uh-huh.
kick myself in the head.
What?
You can kick
I've seen it
yourself
before.
in the
You
head.
can do it.
That's the only thing I have to offer. What
Joey
would you rather
says-
see me do
I
that or
wanna see
say the
that.
alphabet backwards?
I want
Really fast.
Okay, we're
Okay, I'll take that instead.
we're at
I don't want you to kick yourself
444.
in the head.
Well, it's not going to be like a terribly violent, you know.
Yeah, but still, I don't want to take that risk, Joe. We still
That's
need
fair.
you for
I mean,
another
I have
hour.
been, subjecting, like I've been very vulnerable to nosebleeds with the dry weather, so it's definitely a risk. But
count
Yeah,
down.
Don't do that.
Quick update from Mark Stein, who said Christian Wood indeed staying put in Dallas. There was a lot of rumors around him after that Kyrie move was made. Chris, I see you, buddy, in the comments. I don't want to take a shot at Malort. I don't want that to be insensitive.
we could do
We
that.
have Malort here.
We could do that.
Okay, it's going to need to be more than 500 likes, though.
Yeah.
I ain't taking a shot of Malort in 30 likes from now.
1,000
Not-
likes.
Not
1,000
happening.
likes.
I'll
If we
take
get
a
to
shot of Malort with
1,000, I will
1,000
take a
likes,
shot
we'll all
of
do
Malort.
it.
We'll all do a shot of
1,000
Malort.
likes.
1,000
likes. I'll take a pull. I'll take
Kevin's
a big
taking it
swig
too.
of Malort.
Also, shout out to Jason, who, as Bulls fans are getting themselves ready for disappointment, said that the best thing about the Bulls is CHGO. Thank you, Jason.
very
We
much.
love you, man.
30 seconds, guys.
Oh,
30
we putting the
seconds.
countdown in front of us,
It's
Kev.
down. It's on the way. The countdown is
Here
on.
we go.
Oh, 20 seconds, guys. Now, it's true that these deals could still be finalized and then come out
Right.
like after the trade deadline, correct?
Yes. As long as they're sent into the league office but have not yet been approved, they can be approved after 2 p.m. But typically, you're not going to see a bunch of moves start to filter in.
2 p.m.
p.m.
Central Time. There it is.
We are done.
As of right now, no tweets about the Bulls making any deals. Like you were just saying, we could get something in the coming minutes, but likelihood of a last-second deal going through, especially if what we were banging on was LaVine to the Knicks.
Yes.
And a reputable Knicks reporter calling that highly unlikely.
Highly.
It looks like what a lot of us expected, a lot of us probably feared, a lot of us didn't want to see happen, which is this Bulls front office standing pat at yet another NBA trade deadline as the Bulls are 2 games under 500 approaching the All-Star break.
All right.
Mired in mediocrity. Yeah! I'm going to need another beer.
He's going to need another beer. And honestly, I don't think a trade was going to get you out of that mediocrity, to be real with you, bro.
We don't
said
even
we're
have
gonna
that.
be-
I don't have the hat throw thing on here. It's only in the post game.
See, this is why I put the hats there. I knew this was coming. I was like, nope, no matter what, if they made a trade or not, a hat was being thrown today, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
It was going to happen. Breathe.
A lot of people are suggesting that AK and Mark Eversley are seriously, Garpax wearing some sort of disguise or mask.
Okay.
So
Really? I'm
just
shocked.
wanted to
Okay.
address that.
Okay.
Uh-oh,
You know
here
what?
it comes.
I was going to ask if
You
we
ain't
were
bringing
going to
nobody
take
else,
an ad
Mike?
break
That's what you gonna
first.
do? Yeah,
But I'm sorry. I've been seeing that a lot recently. And shout out to our pal Hayes
Yeah,
from.
bring Matt one. Bring
Yes,
Matt one,
please. I mean,
Thank you, Kevin.
Was the sound of a crunkling empty beer not a
Keep going.
signal?
Keep going.
Shout out to our guy Hayes from Locked On Bulls.
Shout
and
out Hayes.
Chicago Bull Central. He had a video that I saw this morning saying y'all comparing AK and Eversley to Garpax already and calling them even worse need to stop, need to chill, need to look at the facts and keep and quit forgetting history so quickly.
Yeah.
Can we be frustrated today because nothing happened? Yes. Can you direct some of that frustration to this front office pair of Eversley
Yes.
and Arturas, who designed this very obviously flawed roster? Yes. Yes, you can. Thanks, Kev. That's our guy. Kevin Kadick, ladies
Hair
and
is
gentlemen.
amazing.
However, do not get it twisted. You know who I'm most mad at today?
Oh, Lord.
You know who I'm most mad at every day?
Here it comes.
The people who own this team. All right? They're the ones who make all the final calls, all the final says, and they're the ones who have hamstrung this front office just like they hamstrung the previous front office. We keep talking about all these potential midseason trade deadline trades with the caveat of, well, we know they're not going above the tax line. Well, we know they're not going above the tax line. You want to be mad at someone today? You can be mad at AK and Eversley for building this roster at the beginning of this season. A couple of months into the season when it looked like this roster still had the same flaws that caused their demise last season, you can be mad at them for that. If you want to be mad at someone today, be mad at their bosses because they are the same people who have made this big market organization operate like a cheap mom and pop shop organization for not years, but freaking decades, okay? Decades. That's who I'm fed up with today. It's who I'm fed up with all the time.
Yeah.
I start to realize and look at the reality of this organization and why we've been mired in mediocrity since the dynasty ended. It all goes back to the same people, y'all. Every damn time, regardless of whatever we're talking about. Who signs the checks? Who signs the checks? Who signs the checks?
Hat. There you go.
So sick of it.
I was going to ask you over under how many hats he would throw after that, but I
How
saw
many
the
has it
trade
been so
machine
far?
smoking. So that's two.
The trade machine.
It's only
was-
been two.
It was smoking. It was hot.
Only been two.
So
Bulls,
Dave, reactions.
Cavs, Heat. Only ones who didn't make a move.
the Heat did make a move. They shipped out Dwayne Dedman.
Right, they did make
clear
that move.
spot.
That is correct. So,
So
Cavs
Bulls and Cavs.
and Bulls
And to
and
be
the
fair to
Cavs.
the Cavs, they just traded everything they have to
Exactly.
trade in order to get
Exactly.
Donovan Mitchell.
And they're very successful this season. I don't know if you guys saw him drop 71 points on the Bulls, but yes, they're very successful this season. Reactions. Slightly disappointed. Wouldn't say just all the way mad and angry about it. Slightly disappointed. I wanted to see something happen, especially after the Zach LaVine talk comes up.
Exactly.
I think that's what really did it, Joey. Like, is hearing that talk and hearing that trade, and I'm like, hell yeah, that's the trade you make. Do that right there. So the fact that couldn't get done, but then even hearing it was highly unlikely or whatever, you know what I'm saying? The fact you put that in my ear, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I should do that. Then that lets me down right there that they couldn't do anything. I don't think they could have made a trade that was going to raise them and just like, okay, this team is now going into the top 6, no doubt, as far as playoff teams are concerned. I think regardless of what you did, you were still going to be a play-in team. That was going to happen for the Chicago Bulls. But I agree with what Will said. You still needed some new blood. You still know what you needed. And you know what you've needed before the season started because we talked about this continuously. You want to talk about continuity? We've been talking about that from the beginning. The shooting is what is incredibly necessary. The interior defense is what was incredibly necessary for this team. But the fact that none of those moves were made in that offseason and then none of those moves made at the deadline is what's frustrating because you see the problems. I always liked AK and Eversley because I always felt like they had their finger on the pulse of the team and they understood what was going on. This hits that kind of feeling and ideology right there. This puts a dent in that feeling right there because you know what you need. You saw it. We're looking at it every single night. You can look at the numbers and see it every single night, what they're missing. And it is damn sure that three-point shooting hard, even more than the defense because the defense has been pretty good over these past 10 games. But they can't do that with the three-point shooting. There's no team in the NBA I don't care where you're looking at them. No team in NBA is going to find deep success without three-point shooting. That's just common sense. And the fact that you don't make a move to get that, and we don't even hear about a move that you would make to get that. The only thing we've heard about was Zach LaVine making that move. I'm just talking about a regular move, a simple one. Hey, man, the Bulls tried to get Luke Kennard. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, the Bulls tried to get Eric Gordon. Like, tried to get me some shooting. Tried. Put in the effort for it. That's what I wanted to hear about. So now I'm interested in hearing this press conference, as I know you are, Will, and I know you are, Matt, and Joey as well. I'm very interested in hearing this press conference and how they break this down, man, because to walk away with nothing, knowing what your team definitely needs, this wasn't just going into a trade deadline saying, man, dude, we just need to do something. Like, something just needs to happen. No, you knew definitely what the hell you needed. The Warriors knew definitely what the hell they needed. They were lacking in that defense. They knew it. And so what they do, they go get Gary, they get the man that was there for them last year and make that move. Yes, that's what we needed. Oh, man, we don't want it. With the Clippers, like, dude, we need to make these moves too. John Wall shouldn't be here. He's not helping us. Let's get rid of him. Let's bring Eric Gordon in. You're watching these teams make competent moves. And I'm just talking about the competency of it, because you know what the hell your team needs. So not getting what your team needs, still standing on that, that's the frustrating part about it. I'm done.
I think this is a pretty close to disaster, I think, for the Bulls. I've said before, I don't expect anything major to happen at this deadline. But as I said before, there's no way that you can watch this team, what they've done for 53 games this year, 5 games in the playoffs last year, and 23 games after the deadline last year, and say, we're going to take the big picture approach. We're going to look at what we have had since then, because that's basically been the team you've had, right? It's since Caruso and Patrick came back.
Yes.
You haven't had Lonzo. That's the group.
Yeah.
You've seen a full year of basketball games from this group. Almost 100 games. And you know what the flaws are. We talk about them every night.
All the time.
And you don't do anything to address them.
Exactly.
I don't blame them for not wanting to blow it up.
Right.
I don't blame them for, we don't know the details. Maybe the Knicks were the team that held up that deal.
Yeah.
Who knows? But there are always moves you can make. There are always moves you can make to get better, whether it's recovering some draft capital or helping you on the basketball court right now.
Yeah.
To do nothing, especially while all these other teams are getting better, I think is unacceptable and really close to. I mean, this is a disaster for the Bulls. They're worse right now than they were yesterday, and they were already pretty bad yesterday.
And what's wild is now when you're saying the Cavs and the Bulls are the only ones that didn't make moves, but the fact that I can look at the Cavs and tell you exactly why they didn't make any moves, because it doesn't behoove them to make those kind of moves. Oh, yeah, we're dropping words today. Because it did not behoove them to make those kind of moves because of where they are in the standings right now. They're very successful. They're okay. Their team chemistry is great. You know, anything they would add to it, I mean, would just be some gravy. You know what I'm saying? But the Bulls, you know what they're missing. You know what they need. You know what has to happen for them. And they didn't get it done. And they couldn't do it. I don't know what's left as far as the buyout market is concerned or signing guys like that. I have to look at that. I'm sure Will can break that down much better.
Let's get into that.
Let's get into that and find that out. But outside of that, man, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Matthew Peck.
It's uncanny how every time gearing up for a free agency summer or an NBA trade deadline, I tell myself, Bulls ain't probably going to do shit. Because that's Bulls. Bulls going to Bulls. And every time it comes to fruition, I'm still this disappointed. I was telling people all week long, I was like, they ain't making any deals. Telling myself, telling anybody that would listen, they're not making any deals.
Nobody wants to.
Bulls going to Bulls. And it still just hits you like a ton of bricks every time because you're forced to face that reality of how this organization operates, and it's freaking infuriating. I mean, a Phoenix Suns team, small market, just had a transition of power like 48 hours ago. They orchestrate a trade to get Kevin Durant. They give up all this assets, all this stuff to add one of the best pieces of talent in the NBA to an already stacked roster.
Yeah.
Booker, CP3, Ayton, all the pieces they have.
Mm-hmm.
And Bulls fans have to sit here and be like, the Suns can do that? The Suns with an owner who's been on the job for all of 2 days can do that?
Got tickets.
Why the F can't we do that? Why can't we ever do that? It's just, ugh. God, it's so frustrating. And I'm sick of feeling this way every time we get one of these mid-season or off-season countdowns waiting for what are the Bulls going to do? What are the Bulls going to do? We hear rumors. We hear reports. What's going to happen? Maybe Zach LaVine traded the Knicks for a big haul. Nope, nothing. Predictably, like always, nothing. Because this shit organization is the same shit organization it's always been.
Thanks for keeping that mic right there.
I just want to let that sit.
You want to let that sit? Let that sit? Let the people marinate on that for a second? You know? We appreciate y'all feeling how we feel also, man. I'm seeing y'all in the comments, man.
And
all things
Laura, I didn't believe Cowley. Not to say I didn't believe Cowley specifically. I didn't believe that those reports of Zach and the Knicks, I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought it was very unlikely. I thought that the Bulls weren't going to do anything today. What I was trying to explain is that even knowing that I thought nothing was going to happen today, I still feel like this, which sucks.
Yeah. Even knowing it was coming.
You know it's coming, and it still hits you like a ton of bricks because again, you deal with it every freaking time.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have to trade Zach LaVine to make a move. You can do something on the margins, on the fringes. They should have done last year. They should have done this summer. And for me, what I think we're starting to see now is the point of bringing in a new front office regime was to rehabilitate the image of the Chicago Bulls around the rest of the league. With Jim Boylan and Garpax.
Hey, come on, man.
Over their last 2 years, they became somewhat of a laughingstock around the league. And Arturas cleaned that up quickly.
Where's my neuralizer?
But we're back to that again. I mean, people are joking about the Bulls being one of two teams that didn't make any moves.
Yeah.
I mean,
to be, didn't make any sense that they didn't make any moves.
To be in the same place you were when you traded Jimmy Butler, slightly worse off, but without draft picks. How can you be okay with that? Again, don't have to trade Zach LaVine. Don't have to trade all your future draft picks to go get Kevin Durant.
Correct.
But there are moves to be made.
Correct.
We saw it because 28 other teams did it.
Right.
You got to do something.
Woo!
Because, like I said, right now they are worse than they were yesterday, and they were 26 and 28 yesterday.
It's true.
And they were the 9th seed.
It's true.
And you got teams behind you getting better. You got teams in front of you getting better. And you are like, Lonzo's not the trade deadline acquisition. Right? Like that's not happening.
No, this press conference from Arturas is going to be one to check out, Bulls Nation, and our guy Will to Go Gottlieb will definitely be in the place to be for that interview, man. But it's definitely one that I'm sure, Matt, you too will be looking forward to hearing. And so we'll be bringing you that cover. We'll cover that as well during that pregame of the Chicago Bulls.
You've heard one AK press conference. You've heard them all.
But I need to hear this one.
Well, yeah.
This is the one I need to hear.
I'm looking forward to hearing it.
I got to hear this.
Because it gets harder to explain the inaction every time there's inaction.
Yeah, correct. I need to hear it, man.
Continuity!
I need to hear this.
If I hear the word continuity in the first sentence or two of him speaking, I'm jumping through one of those glass windows.
Oh, man.
On the 3rd floor of our office.
All right. I like how everything has to do with you ending yourself before we do a game.
I don't have any other answers right now, Dave.
Yes, you do. I mean, you could knock over a table. You know what I mean? You
can punch something. Take a shot of Malort.
Yeah, you can do those things, man. By the way, again, 1,000 likes, guys. We all taking shots of Malort. Get us to 1,000 likes. We're at 530 right now. Get us to 1,000. You'll see us all take a shot of that trash called Malort.
You know what could
trash,
be
Kev.
a fun distraction from the way we're all feeling in Bulls Nation today?
I don't.
It's making some same game parlays on tonight's NBA action.
Oh, look at this man right here.
Today's episode, the Deadline Special, brought to you by our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. NBA fans, it's time to bring the hoops action to the palm of your hand with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NBA, our official betting partner at CHGO. This week, new customers can bet $5 and win $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Nice.
Plus, for a limited time, all new and existing customers, don't forget about you existing customers, can get a no-sweat same-game parlay. What does that mean? It means go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, place a same-game parlay on any of tonight's NBA action, and if it doesn't hit, you get a bonus bet back. Put down a parlay. Parlay doesn't hit, miss it by one, aw shucks, no biggie. Bonus bet back. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, and don't forget to use that promo code CHGO when you sign up to cash in on that amazing offer of a $5 bet on an NBA game, getting you $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
I love how my friends are all sick of me talking about Matt Thomas. It's the best. I just told
what are you talking about? It's been at least 12 minutes since you most recently.
Because I was talking to Fred. I was like, man, they did nothing at the deadline. I was like, they need Matt Thomas. He was like, please, Dave, not now.
Not like this. Not like this.
Oh, man, dude. But instead of that, while Matt does what he does and hopefully not throw himself through a window, Joey, can you make sure Matt doesn't throw himself through a window, please? I appreciate you, man. But I just said I need Joey to do that. I don't know you. You got new shoes on, so can you leave the shoes? I can fit those. In the meantime, guys, let's talk about FOCO. Because Chicago, you already got the best coverage for your favorite teams out there. This man covers them. So get fitted in the best sports gear around. That is from FOCO. Oh, they got you covered, ladies and gentlemen. From Soldier Field to the living room, north or south side, hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in betwixt. Get decked out like DeMar. And with apparel from the leader in sports, merch, and collectibles, that is FOCO. Looking for the perfect gift for the football fan in your life, are you? Do you? Well, guess what? FOCO's got you covered with the hoodies to fight that Lake Michigan breeze. So check out FOCO.com or click the link in the description below for all the non-presale items. Use that promo code. It's called CHGO and get 10% off of your order because that is FOCO. FOCO. Hey, at the same time. Joey, I know there's a bunch of super chats in there, sir. You want to run down a couple of those for us? Let's check out the peoples. Let's check out the people to see all the super chats that we got popping off right now.
Okay, we can start
that one? Okay,
with Dukes. Says, this ownership does not deserve fans' passion. Okay.
They don't deserve the passion of it. Damn.
You already read this one. Okay, we've got one from AK. It's not AK Mark Eversley more so. It's Reinsdorf. It's always been Reinsdorf. It's a business, and this season Bulls are back to number one in ticket sales. That is profit maximizing, little incentive to make a move.
Yeah, like that's been the MO, from the beginning and Matt yells about it all the time. It's the fact that they won't stop it because they're making the money from it. You know what I mean? So why would they change what they're doing when they're still making all the money?
No doubt. Manuel just threw one. He says, wow, what next, guys? And would you rather have Russ or Wall?
Ooh, I'd rather have Russ.
Let's talk about that for a sec because the trade deadline has come and gone. The Bulls made no trades, but they could theoretically still be active on the buyout market. It would be harder because now your options are limited. You can't add a guy on the buyout market from an uneven trade because you didn't make an uneven trade today.
Correct.
You would have to waive somebody off his current roster.
Yes.
If they wanted to. And there was that report from Chris Haynes last night that the Bulls are reportedly interested in Russ if he hits the buyout market, leaving the Utah Jazz after that trade. What do we think about Westbrook?
Yeah.
I'll
take him.
What do you think?
Give me. I'd take him. And trust me, all the reasons why you wouldn't take him are all valid and all make logical sense. I promise you. This is not a logical sense response that I'm giving to you. This is give me a guy who's a good player and this team needs a good player on their team at some point in time because you're trying to get to the playoffs. If that's your MO, then yeah, you go get Russell. I'm always calling him Wilson. Russell Westbrook. Yes, you go get a guy like that. One, he has the leadership to your team. Two, he's adding the rebounding. Three, he can assist. Like, honestly, I think he would help Andre Drummond. I think that'd be alley-oops all day long, to be real with you. But yeah, he will give you a punch in the arm, for this team as far as the energy is concerned. As far as the fast break and transition, that's answered right there. That's what he does for you. And for a guy who doesn't shoot or can't shoot and do things like that, he still can get you 15 to 20 points a night. It's still impressive to me. Not even a great free throw shooter or nothing like that. It's still impressive to me that he can do those kind of things. But trust me, every basketball logical reason why you wouldn't want him, all is logical and makes 100% sense to me. But to get a guy like that and knowing he can answer your questions at point guard and you're just trying to make a playoff run and you got him for 28 games and then that's a wrap, I would take that risk. I would.
Will?
They need to do something. I've been consistent with that message. They do not have the talent to compete at a high level with these teams that have continually decided to improve themselves. Mm-hmm. They need to do something. I'm not saying Russ is a perfect fit, but he is a talent upgrade. He does a lot of what Lonzo can do in terms of pushing the pace and getting downhill. But he obviously has major flaws in terms of shooting the basketball and defending. So all that to say, it's not a perfect fit, but the Bulls have 15 players on their roster. Mm-hmm. They are $1.7 million below the luxury tax.
Yes.
That means they would have to cut somebody and clear space somehow in order to be competitive in one of these deals. I mean, why would a team like the Clippers not offer him more money? Why would a team like the Miami Heat, who couldn't get anything major done, not offer him more money? And why wouldn't those spots be more compelling to him? So I don't think the Bulls are in the market for Russ.
I agree.
Realistically.
I agree with that.
And it's yet another reason why they should have done something, because you can't rely on them to get anything done outside of that. Even
your fail-safe of John Wall, you know what I'm saying? Like, it got traded.
Yeah.
So that's a wrap for you right there. And the reports that we've read about Russell has said the interest are going to be the Heat or the Clippers.
Right.
So you didn't even hear the Bulls even in that situation right there. So, yeah. This, again, like Will said, this is why you can't sit there and bank on those kind of things, man. That's why you have to go actually make a move and do that.
Orlando in the comments pointing out also the Billy Donovan connection. Russ playing with passion and energy. Mm-hmm. Dexter, fact is, Russ is a point guard who plays his heart out every night. John in the comments saying, Russ will give us playmaking, averaging 7.5 assists per game. We need passing. I mean, you can't deny that 7.5 assists per game off the bench is impressive. Here's my thinking.
Talk to me.
If they got in writing that Westbrook would only look to distribute and facilitate and never take a shot, great.
Not going to happen.
Get me on board.
Not going to happen.
This man is shooting just under 30% from three this season.
Yeah.
He's a career 30% three-point shooter.
Yes.
He is shooting just under 42% from the field.
Yes.
Yeah, that giggle right there.
Yes.
That's the thing that's keeping me from saying, F it, why not bring in Westbrook?
Right, I understand.
This team that is lacking sorely in shooting, he does not help that.
Nope.
This team that does not have a great basketball IQ collectively, Russ ain't helping that, in my opinion. Passionate player, yes. High basketball IQ? No. I've never thought Westbrook is a high IQ player. He's also turnover prone. This team has a turnover problem. Is he solving your point guard problems as a guy who's turnover prone, who takes bad shots? Look, I get, Will, you saying, like, this team has to do something, and it does. I do not understand the people who see more positives than drawbacks when it comes to what Westbrook would give this team. Also, complete sieve on the defensive end. This team has enough one-way players on it already.
Again, they're bad, though. They're not a good team. You need to add talent.
Need to add
You can't
talent.
like reserve minutes for
who?
Derrick Jones Jr.
Come on. Is
Like,
he
they're
still,
not a
I'm sorry.
I know that like people think they're going to be good because they have talent. I know that they should be better than they are, but the fact is that they're not. They're 26 and 28. They're the 9th seed. Everybody around them just got better.
Yep.
And the one team that didn't is 6 games ahead of them in the standings, is 10 games over 500, and is still very talented in the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. Who they play tonight?
Mm-hmm. I think because they didn't make any moves right now, the thing that's even more worrisome to me is that it paints you into a corner this summer where you basically have to bring back everybody that you have on your roster right now. But it becomes very difficult to do that without making an additional trade. So maybe that means Zach to the Knicks this summer. Mm-hmm. Maybe something else. I'm not sure. But going into next season with the same group, I think would be basically like malpractice. And you know what you are. Like, you can't continue to trying to jam a square peg into a round hole in terms of this roster working together when it's clearly not working together.
Yeah.
I get that it's hard to make moves. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Right.
There's always something to be done.
I'll take that beer.
All yours.
Chief Fuse, Westbrook can literally only make us better. No.
That's not
literally only better.
Not literally only better.
He is a flawed player.
Yeah.
And the flaws that he has, I think, accentuate some of the flaws that this roster already has. I get that he is a former MVP. I get that he can still offer you certain things at a very impressive level.
4 years of triple
But to say that they're only positives to adding Russ to this equation,
that's not true.
I think the whole thing is a moot
You're just
point.
being biased because you're a fan of Westbrook and want to add him.
And I'm a fan of Westbrook, but that's just not true.
How about this? I don't think Russ is going to have any interest in signing with the Bulls.
No, we get that.
Right.
That's been established.
I don't understand why
established.
If he can just stay in LA and change from playing on a Lakers court to a Clippers court,
or Miami, like what? You don't even
have to trade. Right? No, you have to change stadiums. Right? Just change jerseys. He can stay with exactly where he is, and then still contend for a championship.
right?
Like, yeah, I would do that as well. I would do those things too, man.
We're going to bring in Mark here in a second. As we bring in Mark, I have to react to this Fernando comment. Glad they paid Zach. Great move. I was yelling about this to somebody on Twitter today who had that same sarcastic comment.
You yelling? No.
Yeah. What was their better option? Letting Zach LaVine walk? Losing Zach LaVine for nothing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, spend that money elsewhere. Yeah, let him walk. He was the best free agent last summer in that free agent class.
Yeah.
At least now the Bulls can explore trading him and getting assets back if you decide that you don't want to continue building around Zach LaVine in his prime.
Correct.
You can make that decision, and I think most Bulls fans would come to terms and come to peace with that decision.
Correct.
Some people wanted Zach gone today.
They did.
But to sit here today and say, oh, yeah, Zach LaVine's contract, glad they signed that. It was the best option of a bunch of not so great options. If you can't see that, you're freaking blind. Hello, Mark.
Speaking of blind.
How are you, friend? Rocking the MIB
Got the
shades,
shades, baby.
2
Got
days
the
in a row.
shades. Continuity, baby. Continuity. Let's get it.
Oh, my God.
Let's get it. Drop them bombs, Mark K. Let's get it. I know you got a lot. We know you got a lot up in you, sir. Time to go ahead and get your release, sir. Handle your business.
Well, I mean, the shades here today, the shades yesterday were about doing deals. The shades today are because I've been up for about 12 hours. I'm tired and I don't want people seeing my the bags under my eyes. But shout out to Pepper's crew and Ernest McCollum in the comments. I really appreciate you guys for starters. That's been sarcastic. But moving on to other people, I very much appreciate, again, sarcasm. I know you guys are trying to put this on Jerry, and I certainly don't want to absolve Jerry Reinsdorf because I won't share my actual thoughts on Jerry Reinsdorf. But I also don't think we can absolve AK or Mark Eversley here as well, because yes, there are limitations that are put on them as a management team. Yes, they have, they can't go over the tax like certain teams can, all those sorts of things. We understand all that, but that doesn't preclude you from making a move. Now, beyond that as well, the Bulls are in the position they are right now where maybe they can't make a move based on previous deals that this GM group, this executive group made. So, I can't just absolve or sit here and say that, unfortunately, AK's hamstrung by Jerry Reinsdorf, that this is all on Jerry, that the Bulls suck because of Jerry. I mean, all of that is true, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of shit to throw around, and I'm prepared to throw it at any which way. So, yeah, just frustrated at a lot of things, to be honest with you, at the moment.
Yeah, I wasn't absolving AK at all. I think we gave him his talking to, as Bill Burr likes to say. I gave him his talking to a little earlier. And like I said earlier, I can't wait to hear this press conference, because that's going to be something for me. Like, even if it's just some of the same fluff, I know the Bulls reporters, with go Gottlieb, I know that the questions that will be asked, you know what I'm saying, and presented towards him. So I'm interested to seeing that kind of response, because the luster and the gloss is off now. You know, when you do these kind of things, like, that grace period is over, you know, when you do these kind of things and make these kind of moves. So I'm very interested to see this press conference, because I know the questions that are coming at him, man, and I'm interested to hear the answer to him, Will.
I'm curious what you guys have to say about this, because I think this is potentially the motivation for not making any moves right now.
Okay.
And I'll just tip my hand. I think this is just horseshit. But Shams just said on his show that Toronto and Chicago felt like the East became more open with Durant being traded to Phoenix.
Okay.
Acquiring Pirtle sent messages around the league that Toronto wants to win now with their talented roster. Including Chicago in that first sentence leads me to believe that part of the reason why the Bulls did not make any trades to add or subtract from their roster is because they think that the rest of the East there's more parity in the East now, that they have a better chance of winning because Kevin Durant is out of there. They have a better chance of making the playoffs or the play-in because Kevin Durant is gone. What's your guys' response to that?
Look, all that is fine. You can feel that way all you want. Like, yo, we got a chance, we got a shot. What the hell does that have to do with you adding shooting to the team? You still need that, regardless. You still need that shit. That's the point I got right here. Great. You feel like, yo, we can hold on to our guys. You know, we can still make this run. We can still get in the playoffs. It's wide open. Wonderful. I'm glad you feel that way. The glaring hole that you've had before the season started was shooting. It's glaring, all right? So to not address that, you can keep all the guys. Keep Zach. Keep DeMar. Fine. Cool. Add me a shooter. That's the point. You didn't address the need of this team. The absolute need of this squad was that, and you didn't address it. That's the point right here for me.
Didn't address it today. Didn't address it in the week leading up to the deadline. Also didn't address it this past summer.
In the offseason. You did not do anything to improve it.
Or in the last
That's
deadline.
the issue. That's the issue for me.
Yeah, and look, adding Westbrook as a buyout guy, I don't think that's going to happen. But if that were to happen, again, is not solving that problem either. But like, I wasn't expecting a home run deal. I wasn't necessarily expecting LaVine to be traded either. But we saw a lot of good role players get moved today for not like exorbitant prices either. Like, I mean, could you have been involved in a deal for Sadiq Bey? Could you have been involved in a deal for Eric Gordon or whoever it may be? There was a number of role guys moved around. Jakob Poeltl was someone that was linked to the Bulls before. He got traded for a reasonable package. Josh Richardson got moved from the Spurs as well. Like that again, he's not a shooter per se, but they help things that this team needs. So it's not just about the LaVine deal or making a huge splash or really vaulting this team out of like 9th into 4th or something like that. There was never that deal involved. But could you have added pieces to this roster potentially? Obviously, that they couldn't do certain things because of the tax, but like I said before, that doesn't absolve them from doing nothing today. And as Will and I spoke about yesterday, like part of doing something today was about improving this team for this season, but it was also looking forward to what you've got coming up in the off season as well, whereby if you wanted to keep this team intact as it's currently constructed, you're going into the tax, assuming you pay Vooch, Iom, Kobe, and Javonte market value deals. Now, assuming you don't do that because we know all of the tax limitations that exist on this team, then you're losing someone or likely going to be losing someone for nothing, which is just dumb, which that's the part I can't get past, I guess. Like Kobe White is a restricted free agent in the offseason. He may walk to another team for nothing. Now, obviously, yes, you could re-sign him. Yes, you could sign and trade him, but that's depending on obviously what he signs for. But if those things don't eventuate, and you didn't trade Kobe today, you could have got something for Kobe today, and you let him go in the offseason, it just compounds the decision not to do anything today. So, I know we're talking about it now, and it's bad now, but it could look even worse in the offseason. Is my my takeaway here today.
Several people in the comments pointing out that, look, maybe part of that not adding a shooter today, even if you weren't going to make some kind of giant, complete change of direction, organizational move, why couldn't you try and add some shooting to this roster? People in the comments pointing out, what do the Bulls have to offer that teams want for that team to give up a quality shooter? I mean, when you think about the players that were most often mentioned as if the Bulls are to trade somebody away at this trade deadline, it was the big three, namely Vooch because of the expiring contract, Caruso, and Kobe. Trading Kobe away to get shooting makes no sense because Kobe's a shooter.
Kobe's a shooter, right.
Caruso might be, I think, the most likely candidate thereof. If you're not going to completely change your team's direction, but you want to add some shooting,
correct.
Plenty of teams out there were reportedly very interested in prying Caruso away from the Bulls. And we heard from multiple reports that the Bulls were listening, but that asking price for Caruso was substantially high. Maybe it was a couple of first-round picks, or maybe instead of a couple of first-round picks, it's a pick and a quality shooter.
Right.
Because Caruso certainly is part of the Bulls' shooting problems.
Right.
But also, would such a move hypothetically today set the Bulls up better if you're adding a shooter, a rotation guy who can shoot, and losing Caruso, by far your team's best defensive player, the team, the guy holding your team's defense together. I mean, that's probably up to each individual's opinion.
Sure.
But
to do nothing to address is the issue. Will always be the issue for me.
Right.
We can debate that as far as Caruso, like you said, and his importance to the team, and where he stands and what he needs, and all that stuff. You can debate all that all day long. You can't debate that you need shooting. You know what I'm saying? You know what you need on this squad, and you know what you got to have for this team to even have a chance. If you're going to go to the playoffs, to even have a chance, forget the playoffs. To even have a chance to even get to like a top 6 seed or something like that, you have to hit threes. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to do these things. And I think that's the only argument I have here. And that's the only upsetting thing for me. Everything else, fine. I'll get over. You know what I mean? I'll be fine about all that. But my God, to not do anything, though, as far as the shooting is concerned, knowing that that's been an issue all season. And I would even feel it, Matt, if it was a new issue and you didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God, we just started being bad at threes. Do we look at that? No, I got faith we'll be okay. You knew it coming into the season, what this issue was. You knew it. And you did nothing to address it leading up to this point. You had plenty of time to address it, and you could not address it, man. That's the frustrating part.
You had a full calendar year of data to suggest exactly what you're talking about, Dave. This is not a new problem. And to sit in front of a podium last week and say that earlier this week, and say that Arturas is going to take a big picture view of what this team is and what they need, and disregard that. I mean, it's not just that they could have traded Lonzo or Caruso or Kobe. I mean, they could have traded Javonte Green for a minimum shooter. They could have traded Derrick Jones Jr. and the Portland pick for freaking Korkmaz. Like, these guys, they're not like untouchable. And I think right now they're in this position where they're unwilling, or they just have incredible sense of belief, which I think is totally unjustified, that this team can turn it around.
Or you can even bring it back to what Matt has been saying, was if you try to get a shooter like Joe Harris, that puts you over and you'll have to go into the tax.
But that's my point, is you don't have to get Joe Harris. You could get freaking Korkmaz for $5 million.
I know. I'm saying even if it's that point, you can sit there and use that excuse for it.
100%.
But I'm saying, like you just said, there are many options and just a wide array of things you could have done as far as shooters concerned. Freaking Korkmaz, like you said, is there.
You're rostering
you can make that move.
4 centers right now. Tony Bradley plays garbage time sometimes.
Yeah.
Marcus Simonovic has a guaranteed contract, but he can't make it out of the G League.
Correct.
There's just roster spots wasting away on the back end of this team, and all those guys are great, but like, it's not the way that you run an organization if you're trying to improve. And maybe they're just not trying to improve. Maybe that's what this is that they're okay with the play-in. They feel like they've maybe lost a few trades and they don't want to continue to dig that hole. That's fine. And maybe that's why they've set such a high price on their guys.
Right.
But at a certain point, you've got to make some tough decisions, if only because of where they are cap-wise heading into next summer. I fully expect Vooch to have an extension done at some point here soon, because you can't let him walk for nothing.
Exactly.
But where does that leave you with Kobe? And then where does that leave you in terms of your roster building? You still got the same group going into next year.
Yeah.
Right.
And even if
then if
Lonzo is healthy and at the best he's ever played, that still wasn't good enough last year when things were great. And everybody else has gotten a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
And so you got Vooch, you got Kobe if you want to keep him around as a quality role player, 6-man type. You also got a deal now with Io, who, and I think I saw, and it was Bobby Marks with a tweet about it the other day. After one of the Bulls' more recent games, Io surpassed that number of starts this season that bumped his qualifying offer up substantially, like by like 3 or 4 million, from 2 point something to 5 point something. So not like if you're talking about the Bulls still remaining under, being under the luxury tax team next season and keeping this core in place, you still got problems.
Go ahead, Marquez.
Look, just something that I think we all said in the offseason, but to reiterate it now, like, you've gone in on a core, but you've sort of half-assed it. Like, you sent out picks for Vooch, you sent out picks for DeRozan, you obviously made the play for Lonzo. The Lonzo issue is what it is. You can't necessarily foresee that. But part of the reason why you trade future picks in the future is that you assume a team is going to be good enough where you feel comfortable mortgaging those things. So, like, for example, the Orlando trade that the Bulls obviously executed for Vooch, it looks bad in large part because the Bulls have been not very good. If the Bulls could have continued to build, continued to add, and actually been like the 4th, 5th seed consistently in the Eastern Conference, instead of giving away a potential lottery pick to the Orlando Magic this season, maybe you're giving away the 21st or 22nd pick, and we're not talking about it in the same way that we are now. So my issue here today is the same issue that I had in the offseason, and they're there before as well. It's like, you've gone in, you've made these win now moves, but you sort of stopped there. You haven't added to this. You haven't really given Vooch, Levine, DeRozan their best chance to actually succeed as a 3-man unit. Like, how do you build this unit, this combination more generally? And to your point, Dave, without like adding shooting around those guys, like when you're building around DeMar DeRozan, how can people talk about these lineups that Billy puts out there around DeRozan that doesn't have any shooting? And my thing of it every single time is like, where are these shooters that he's meant to be putting off the bench? So like, they've gone 75% of the way in, I guess is my point. But then they sort of just stopped because they either didn't want to commit more assets, or they couldn't go over the tax, or whatever the situation was. But essentially, they just didn't commit to this entire thing. They've gotten to a certain point, and it just feels like they're just like, okay, fine, this is as far as we can go. We'll half-ass it. We'll get into the playoffs in 22. Maybe we'll get there in 23. But ultimately, it's not really changing anything, and we're really not giving these guys their best chance to do anything with it. So that's the frustrating thing from my point of view. And like, the fact that they're 48 and 56 as a team since January 22, and there has been no material changes to the roster. Like, how can you expect things? How can you expect this core to work, or this 3-man group to work, if you're not actively adding things to it? It makes no sense. So even if they do believe that there's a chance here with the Nets maybe imploding or whatever it might be, that maybe they can sneak up the order in the East, like, how are you doing that when, like Will has said, like, you've done nothing as a group with this group for the last year? We know what you are. The sample size is huge. How can you possibly expect it to turn things around with the group that you have in place? It just makes no sense at all.
Especially when the argument to keep the group together is waiting for Lonzo to come back. And a week and a half ago,
Like
Willie Donovan got up on the podium and said he is, quote, nowhere close to returning.
Yeah.
I think that part of it is
Exactly.
inexcusable. The logic is broken, and you cannot rely on Lonzo, even if you thought he had a chance to come back this year, even if he was ready to start ramping up, which he's not. which he's nowhere close to.
Right.
It's going to take 2 months for him to get going. And by the time that he's ready to go, they're going to have missed the play-in.
Right. And just, I saw people talking in the comments about like, well, somebody who was saying, hey, man, when Lonzo was playing and healthy last season for the first half of the season, and then some, the Bulls were the number 1 seed in the East. And then somebody else in the comments pointing out, yeah, but they couldn't beat any of the best teams, which I'm on that side of it. Like, yeah, they were the number 1 seed. They were beating up on bad teams and beating mediocre teams in very close games where DeMar was Herculean. Great. But the Bulls could not have been blind to that at the time. Billy Donovan was saying it openly in press conferences. We're not as good as our record says we are. He was saying that. And on top of that, whatever Bulls fans and the media have known about Lonzo in his long recovery process and then surgery and then rehab, the Bulls
and then another surgery,
inner circle of trust, and then another surgery and then another rehab. The Bulls inner circle of trust has known more and has known for longer than we have. Anytime we have gotten an update about Lonzo, they know more than we do, and they knew it sooner than we did. And all of these updates about Lonzo making it sound like he ain't ever playing basketball again, that's why the inactivity and the doubling down on the continuity plan is bullshit.
And also, it's not like you're living in this vacuum of like November and December 2021 where all of those teams are who they were then. The Celtics were 23 and 24 until January, and then they became the 96 Bulls. The Cavs got Donovan Mitchell. The Knicks have added Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. These teams have gotten better. The Hawks got DeJounte Murray. The Raptors just added Jakob Poeltl. I mean, you can't just... And the Pacers got Tyrese Halliburton. They were like 7-1 in the last games that he played before he got injured. You can't just rely on we are who we were when, one, you're not getting back to that place because Lonzo's not coming back, and two, everybody else around you has gotten significantly better.
Yeah. And to sit there and know that the greatest shooter in the world was out there and you did not go get him in Matt Thomas is extra frustrating because he was right there available, but now that man is over there in Greece doing great things and you could have used him. You see how the Bulls have been since they let Matt Thomas go? Take a look at it. Look at it. The record proves it. You need the greatest shooter in the world. Joey, I wish you had that graphic ready. I wish you had it ready for me on that one, Joey, because I'm going to talk about Matty T.
My God. This is where we are.
Yes, this is where we are. Yes. Mark K's head is broken.
Yeah, I don't want to. Let's not talk about Matt Thomas anymore, please. I'm already fucking pissed off. Please don't annoy me anymore.
Yes.
But coming back to the continuity thing, like, why has this team deserved any form of continuity at all? Like, the Phoenix Suns went to the finals in 22. In 21. They won 64 games last year. It obviously ended abruptly for them. This season has been off the rails just due to injuries, and they just said, fuck it, we're going to go and get Kevin Durant. I know you referenced that before, Matt, but like even other teams, like the Clippers have continually added, like they changed their roster today. The Denver Nuggets haven't necessarily done a whole much like this transaction cycle. I think they added Thomas Bryant for a couple seconds. Like that counts for something. They boosted their center rotation, but even in prior years, they added someone like Aaron Gordon. So like continuity is a thing that's generally reserved for teams that deserve it. This team doesn't necessarily deserve it. And even those teams who probably should stay continuous, let's say, have continuously added pieces to their roster. So I just from all angles of this thing, there's just it makes no sense. So I'm very, very keen to see how AK tries to sell this today. I don't think more generally he's a great public speaker. He doesn't necessarily let you in on the what his true feelings are, and maybe that's just him, the way his personality is driven, or maybe that's just him from a strategic point of view. But like, this is a day where he needs to be very clear. There needs to be a lot of transparency, and he has to give some good, tangible answers as to why what has happened today has transpired the way it has. But just in the past, based on what he's communicated to Bulls fans, in prior seasons or prior deadlines, whatever the situation may be, like, he hasn't really given much information away. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, we're all mad and annoyed right now, but I think there's potentially a greater chance of us being even more annoyed in a couple hours' time when he actually does speak and if he doesn't say anything. or perhaps when he does say something, maybe that'll be even more maddening. So I'm tipping that we're going to be even more madder, boys, in a couple hours' time.
I can tell you what he's going to say.
Hit him, Will.
He's going to say, we like the group we have. We're onto something here. We're 15-10 in our last 25 games. Our defense is really strong. Well, guess what? They're getting the luckiest defensive opponent three-point shooting in the entire league right now. So I think you have to put aside some of that and say the regression is going to come back and bite them a little bit. They're going to say, we can't fully evaluate our group without Lonzo. And I can tell you in a week, they're going to rule him out for the season. That's just a guess, by the way. I'm not reporting that.
No, I
and
believe
they
that.
are...
So, sorry, keep going. But there is a sort of a new wrinkle in the Bulls story here.
Hit us.
Well, it comes from Matt's favorite guy, Daniel Greenberg, but he's aggregating from
boy!
David Kaplan. So according
That's
to the
Mark's guy,
Catman,
too.
according to the Catman on ESPN 1000, Zach LaVine's relationship with head coach Billy Donovan has sailed, and everyone else in the Chicago Bulls locker room is on Donovan's side.
Has sailed?
Has sailed.
Sailed away?
Yeah.
Sailed
That's what it
away from
seems
being
like.
a positive relationship?
Right. Yeah.
What a weird past tense
Very
verb
weird. Yes,
choice.
I agree with you.
I thought you were going
I
to say
agree.
has soured.
Right,
Which
right.
would be a logical word to choose.
Has sailed? Because
Has
sailed. I think-
sailed?
they're on the boat together? That's nice. That's
Well, look,
cool.
I
He
mean,
bought a yacht with that money.
we know
He bought a yacht. Yes.
we
Bought a
know
nice yacht.
that Zach had, as of recent reporting, held lingering resentment about the benching from Billy
Yes.
at the end of that loss to Orlando.
Correct.
We
I
had
was with
also
Billy on it.
heard of several team meetings after the Bulls losing to crap teams.
Yes.
Including after one instance when there was a heated verbal exchange
Yes.
in the locker room
Yes.
that was several players speaking up angrily, and it was directed at, according to those reports, Zach LaVine.
It happened. It's a thing. And again, is this something that is just out of the Clutch playbook? That's just my question right there. Is this something out of the playbook of
But
Clutch?
why would Clutch want it out there that the whole locker room had turned on Zach?
No, I'm just talking about
part of
like
it.
when they sign a contract, you know what I'm saying, and they get that contract signed, something happens internally with that player, and then the trade comes right after that. No matter how it goes down, you know what I mean? If he looks nice, if he doesn't, something usually happens, and then that player, is traded and that move is made. That's usually how it happens. Not saying that's what's going on here. I'm just asking the question because it is interesting to me. But yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, well,
you don't want to hear anything like that.
If that was the case, they should have just gone more harder with it. Like, the deadline's coming up. If Zach and Billy do have a sailing relationship, if their relationship is out on sea and it's man overboard and any other shitty puns that you want to think of. But if that really is a case, go harder with the trade. Like trade request, for example, you just saw Durant and Kyrie Irving put through a trade request. They were honored pretty quickly. It's like you would have got mixed up in that news cycle. It's not like you would have been the lone guy out there requesting a trade. So any backlash from that standpoint could have maybe been minimized to some degree. So I guess my point is if that's how you feel, Zach, and that's what Clutch feels, then go harder with it, I guess. Why are we hearing about this now after the deadline when nothing can happen? So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know if I put much stock into it, but it is what it is.
I mean, this is part of the problem when you have a secret extension with your coach. Why would you put yourself in a position where you're basically saying, pick one of us here?
Right.
These two, this locker room's not big enough for the two of us. And to let that come out after the trade deadline, maybe that lines up with the thought that the Bulls were shopping Zach. And maybe, like I said, this sort of trade still comes to fruition in the summer. I understand that the Bulls don't want to go into the gutter this year because they don't have their own pick. But like I said with the Fournier thing, you can still there are moves you can make that still help you play competitively while also setting you up better for the future. And I'm worried now that they have missed their opportunity to sell high on some of their guys and that they have sacrificed value in order to, out of fear that they are going to give the Magic a good pick and out of fear that they might not make the play-in. So I think it's a terribly weak place to operate from, and I think it puts them in, like, the longer they let this go on, the worse it's going to get. When this comes to the summer and they've got to make calls about keeping Kobe or Vooch or Io or Javante and still not being able to add any talent to this group, that's where we're headed. And then what? You got to trade somebody. You can't just have the same group forever. And I think it's rare that you have, 13 or 14 of the same guys on a roster from one year to the next anyway. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I think they should have done something to try to get themselves better because it's clear that they didn't want to get themselves worse. I understand that. But if we go into next season and we still have the same group, I think it would be a big problem.
Well, guys, I think we were focusing on the wrong issues because clearly the most pressing issue is Luke with a super chat saying that he would rather have Matt Thomas than Tony Bradley.
My man, you better tell him the truth. You better tell him the truth. The truth shall set you free out here.
Do you think Matt Thomas would also be picked up and carried out the club just like Tony Bradley was,
Never.
though?
Absolutely
you
never.
Think he could throw down with
kidding?
Steven Adams?
You see he came straight for Tony. He saw that gaze of Matt Thomas from across the bench and said, I ain't even walking over there. And he went and grabbed Tony Bradley and said, I think you a punk ass. I'm carrying your ass off the court. No, absolutely not. The greatest in the world, Marquez.
And
the greatest in the world.
Ace saying that Nick-Zach trade should have happened. Look, most often, when there is a dispute between a star player and a coach in the NBA, the organization will fire that coach.
That's true.
And take the player's side.
All the time.
The fact that I think maybe some Bulls fans here are saying, and Billy is certainly not a widely popular coach with the fan base right now. We got people in our comments after every game saying, fire Billy, fire Billy, fire Billy. Mm-hmm. And the fact that even that being true, and some Bulls fans being like, well, you should have traded Zach. I don't love Billy, but you should have traded Zach.
I don't like him.
Take that Knicks deal. But honestly, thinking about it now, if there was one player that was hanging up that reported trade between the Bulls and Knicks, whether it was Grimes or swapping a different young guy, Toppin, whatever, Fournier was going to be in there to make contracts, Matt.
Yeah.
If the Bulls are out on Zach because of reasons X, Y, and Z,
yeah,
and like you were saying earlier, Will, are you getting an offer as good as that this offseason when other teams have all kinds of other options at their disposal? Make that deal. I think
you can still get that nice offer though. Even knowing that, I'm just basing that.
I'm not disagreeing.
No, I'm just basing that off of what I've seen as far as other players who have been in that same kind of situation, and teams have still walked away with a nice haul.
Yeah.
For that player. Even worse than than just hearsay. You know what I'm saying?
But again, you have less control over what people will think of your assets then.
Correct.
Because you just don't know.
Correct.
And right now they know. And again, I think it's great that they had super high prices for these guys. I wouldn't have wanted to just give them away for nothing. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying they needed to blow it up in the first place, but for every reason we've talked about so far, to do nothing, I think is it's really disappointing, and I think it will come back to bite them.
Mm.
Yeah, and look, that deal with the Knicks may not be there in the offseason just because Rose was part of what made the money work, and Rose has a team option, so maybe they maybe they take up that option for Derrick Rose to include him in a trade. But if they don't, if they just let it go, then I don't know, they have to rework the deal somehow because the money doesn't necessarily work in that instance. Yeah, it was good to know that a team out there was prepared to offer 3 first-round picks for Zach. That's good confirmation, and that means that re-signing Zach in the offseason, despite what some people say, was the right decision because you now are in a position to move in for future first-round picks, which you wouldn't be had you let him go in the offseason for nothing. 100%. But this particular deal with the Knicks, maybe you can revisit a Levine-Knicks type deal in the offseason, but this particular deal, I don't know if it will be the same sort of shape, just purely based on what the contracts that will need to be sent out. So it's an interesting one. And there aren't a lot of first-round picks out there. Like we just saw the Suns just demolish all their first-round picks, all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting time. But it is, I guess the one positive here for me is that there clearly is, despite Zach's contract, there is still some positive value to be had from him in a trade, should it come at some point, which may be in the offseason.
Yeah. What if he gets hurt?
Ooh.
Well, yeah, that's the risk.
Yeah, I mean, you can fill in the blank player. What if blank gets hurt? I mean,
right, but
my point is, like, what if Caruso gets hurt? What if he doesn't have the same value? What if instead of
I don't think you can think like that.
Yeah, for real, bro.
What if you're a team that is interested in Caruso because you get him for 3 playoff runs instead of 2?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe that value's higher as a half-season loaner and then some.
Again, we don't know what the details of any of these trade conversations were. Obviously, more news or rumors leaked about Zach, but I don't blame the Bulls for not wanting to go into the gutter. I've said that before.
Yeah.
But the idea that we think the East is more open now because Kevin Durant is gone is even more argument to try to add talent because now you can be more competitive.
Correct. Absolutely right.
The argument is not we can just stand still and still be as good, especially when other teams are adding.
Yeah,
absolutely right.
I've said this every day when we talked about it this past summer. If you're not making moves to get better and other teams are, you are getting worse.
Yes, he said.
And I think they are worse now.
Rex in the comments pointing out something else that I think is important, especially if this lingering beef between Zach and Billy is becoming more untenable. They signed Billy to an extension.
They did. So he's going nowhere.
We also know that Jerry ain't a fan of paying coaches to go away. They wanted AK and Eversley to consider keeping the bald-headed menace.
They did.
Because they gave him an extension.
But they didn't keep him.
No, they didn't, thankfully. But I'm just saying, if you're trying to figure out what changes you can make organizationally to fix this crap.
Yeah. I will say
you're gonna fire the coach you just signed an extension to this offseason?
True indeed.
Because you believe he's part of the problem now?
Well, at least now I know I can sit here and just absolutely root for the playoffs now. Now I can sit here and root for the play-in and go for my team going to the playoffs now. That's where I'm at, and that's where all this love is about to go.
You know what?
I still would like to go to the goddamn playoffs. Whether you don't want to, whether you don't want to, I still want to go to the playoffs, man. Let's go. This is what you signed up for. This is what you said you wanted to do. Screw it. Let's do it. Let's go to the playoffs, man. I'm down. Let's hit it. I'm with it.
I'm rooting for is winning the lottery 2 times over, buying this team away. That's what I'm
with your $50 again.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's the plan.
Yeah,
I'm going to convince Michael to sell me the Bulls for $50.
Yes.
Because I think I can actually twist him into that conversational corner.
Yeah, and again, you still have not told me where you're getting this $50 from.
Hey, man.
I don't know where you're getting this money.
Believe it or not, they pay us to do this.
Dude, what? What? Kevin, we getting checks for this? Wait, why he didn't even respond? Like, he's confused.
Kev's not sure.
He's not sure?
Kev's not sure.
Okay.
Y'all, it is 3 o'clock. Thank you so much for tuning in to our 2-hour NBA trade deadline day special. We really appreciate it. Appreciate all the likes. Appreciate all the engagement in the chat. Appreciate the
job,
super
Joey.
chats. Mark, thank you for hopping on and sharing some of your takes with us. We will take a quick break here in the late afternoon hours, and then, season don't stop. We got ball night tonight. Bulls, new look Nets. Tip off at 6:30. That means we will be back here setting up for pregame at 6 p.m. Central Time. Yeah. Let's see if I can wrap my head around my depression between now and 6 o'clock.
Joe, did you hear my compliment? Thank you. All right, you're welcome.
What'd you say?
I just told him he did a great job.
He did do a great job.
I thought he did a really
good job. When does Joey not do a great job? Okay, well, when he's
don't set me up like that. Why do you do that to me?
When he's ordering food, that's when he does do a great job. Everybody, we'll see you back here for pregame before Bulls Nets. Thanks to Mark. Follow him on Twitter, MK Hoops. Hashtag continuity. Follow Joey, our producer, and our pal at Joey's Pathis, Joey1K.
Thank
Will
you,
is at Will_Gottlieb. He's probably going to be writing something up here now between now and pregame. Keep an eye on it, allchgo.com. Big Dave is at Bow BAWL Sports. Bulls_Peck is my Twitter handle. We are CHGO_Bulls. Bulls Nation, I know that was tough. It's a tough day. We'll power through it together. Like, subscribe. See Red be good. See you for pregame.